How are you guys? Don't forget to leave a review and enjoy the story. Enjoy watching. The story begins. The events of this story begin in one of the companies that exists under the following slogans for employees. The result is above all. Work without results is worthless. If you don't want to work, leave. Before complaining, engage in self-improvement. Orders are often given that everything must be ready by morning. Management often threatens employees with dismissal and states that there's a line to take their place. In fact, the company operates a sweatshop system. Often employees have to sleep at their workplaces. Another morning, William wakes up in a cold sweat. He can't understand if he was dreaming. Once again, he overslept, so he fussily starts getting ready for work. Along the way, his coworkers greet him, and one of them, an older man with a thick beard, asks whether William was late at work again the day before. MC responds that it was necessary to draw up a report due to the instructions of Chairman Barnett. Already at his workplace, the bearded man hands William an additional order from the Avert family. William thanks for this. The bearded man is surprised by how much love the clients have for them, and he emphasizes that accepting additional orders is not bad. But if the main plan for the month is not fulfilled, then problems with the chairman will arise. When colleagues at the stand, the plan, and assignments look at the next figures, they understand that these are completely unattainable plans. William is aware of the situation and knows the real state of affairs well. Having immersed himself in the work process, MC takes on another order, and this is a chair that needs restoration. While examining it, William is outraged by the crude repairs to this piece that were previously carried out by an unknown person. MC knows that this chair is from the village of Miguel from Jess's grandmother, who reported that her knitting chair was broken. After inspecting the product, William decides to replace the handrails, round them off, and make the armrests a little more comfortable for the hands. A small explanation. William works for a trading company, Barnett, one of the largest in their kingdom of Doll. The company trades in a wide variety of goods, from spoons to weapons. The clients are varied, from villagers to aristocrats. William works in the company as a craftsman, thanks to his only skill, craftsmanship. In general, the crafting skill is a fairly common activity in the kingdom. There are so many masters like William that he has nowhere to go but here. He feels like he is just going with the flow of the river. The bearded man's voice is heard. Ready. Take it. And he hands over the repaired chair to the delivery department for further transportation. The goods are loaded into horse-drawn carts and delivered directly to customers. With the words, "Don't be late," the carts quickly leave for their addresses, and it is thanks to the speed of logistics that this trading company has been able to grow significantly. A voice is heard throughout the company. Work harder. Your products will enrich this trading house. William can tell from the voice that Chairman Barnett is starting his rounds of workstations. Coming closer, he shouts, "Hey, William." MC turns around, and the chairman, already nearby, says that this month, William has again failed to fulfill the plan. MC asks for forgiveness. The chairman asks if the documents he asked for yesterday are ready, demands a quicker response, while telling him to remember that replacing anyone is not a problem. A memory comes to William. William remembers that he is not alive. He used to work for a black company and died from overwork. Now he is alive, which means his reincarnation has taken place. The chairman's voice, "Damn it, William, bring the documents," brings MC back to reality. Yes, I'm running." William answers and hurries to prepare the documents. Already in the chairman's office, Barnett reviews the documentation and asks about the customer base and trend analysis. William replies that he has. At the same time, looking at Barnett's discontentedly distorted face, he realizes that he looks exactly like his boss from his past life. Barnett looks up and with a smile on his face announces that William is fired. MC, confused, asks again, "How is that possible?" Barnett adds that his son will take over the position and will take over the business. The chairman thanks William for his service. What does all this mean? Chairman Barnett can't calm down William. The chairman claims William is too slow to work and has failed to meet production targets. The company has no use for such worthless craftsmen, Barnett adds. MC tries to justify himself and explains that he offers clients what they really need. Barnett replies that the customer will not pay for something that does not exist in reality. Buyers do not require quality. They will buy something from stock. We must stick to the slogan. Cheaper, faster, and in larger quantities than anywhere else. The chairman concludes, "That's it." William is stunned by the decision made. Barnett suggests that MC pack his things and, if everything is clear, leave. The chairman turns to his son and asks him to get started, but it must be taken into account that William's regular customers were the most valuable and wealthy customers in the company. Barnett continues, William's crafts were snapped up for some reason, although they were practically no different from other goods. But he works too slowly, which is why he cannot get the most out of rich clients. The chairman calls on his son to take the vacant place and shake all the money out of the rich. Valuable clients attract other valuable clients, and his son should succeed, Barnett advises. Don't worry, Dad, the son replies. William walks out of the chairman's office and exhales sharply, how a. As he walks down the hallway, he remembers what personal items he needs to collect. Already in the office, William begins to get ready. First of all, from the top shelf of the cabinets, he takes out the dusty Shinjo, the sacred staff of Ristek. It was once given to him by the leader of an S-rank adventure group. It is a rare artifact that allows one to control the magic of all elements. And William kept it in case he ever needed it, but he decided magic wasn't his thing, so he never used it. William thinks about the word magic. But he was reborn. That is real magic. It is only possible in a world where magic exists. When William returns home, he hears familiar sounds, pie dash, pie dash. It is Rudy the eagle owl who greets him. A bird friend sits on William's hand. MC turns to the owl, realizing that he has probably been waiting for him for a long time, with a rhetorical question of what to do next. William reflects. Even after being reborn in another world, he again ended up in the office of some scoundrels and almost went down the same path. He thinks that it is enough to live such a life. From now on, he decides to live differently. Packing his things, taking the sacred staff of Ristek and Rudy with him, he sets out on his journey with the thought that he intends to enjoy life to the fullest and to fully utilize the second chance that fell to him. William decides to say goodbye to his regular customers as he leaves. While he's at it, he makes sure to take the chair and see Grandma Jess. Thus begins his first step toward a new life. As William planned, the first thing he does is visit Grandma Jess. He hands over the restored chair and wishes Grandma good health. At the same time, he says goodbye to all the neighboring villagers. The Avert family is next in line. He will not be able to fulfill additional orders, and an apology must be made for this. Arriving at the Avert family castle, William announces that he has written a letter of resignation and will no longer be able to carry out orders. The head of the family is simply discouraged by such information. He declares that without William, he will not be able to and will simply disappear. MC apologizes. He is very sorry and says that Laston will work in his place. The head of the family clarifies that Laston is the son of that very Barnett. He has never heard anything useful about him. Previously, Laston served in the knightly order in order to attract additional attention from the female sex. There he did a lot of things with women, for which he was expelled. Thus, he got into his father's trading company. Head of begins to tell that what William does is significantly different from the work of other masters. Despite similar forms, each detail is subjected to painstaking work. He primarily cares about the future owner of things. Showing a sword bought from William, which is an example of such confirmation. The head says that it was created taking into account the features of the future owner, thoughtful handle and balance. William can outdo any blacksmith in skill, Averd declares with admiration. MC replies that he made this amazing sword thanks to his acquaintance with an amazing master from whom he studied. The chapter continues that, in addition to liking the things William made, he did not try to gain the trust of his house, Averg, and he likes William's sincerity. He and his family are very sorry that further cooperation is impossible. William thanks for such generous words. The head of Averg tries to clarify what William plans to do next. MC starts to answer, actually, and moves away along the road. At this moment, the father is heard. Is the daughter of the family entering the room? She introduces herself as Lemet. The father asks his daughter again if she heard the conversation with William. The further path of the MC lies in the kingdom of Murkies. Arriving at the place, William realizes that he hasn't been in these parts for a long time. At the Murkies castle, he is met by Gori, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Murkies. He is very upset that William is visiting them after a long absence and brings the unpleasant news of leaving the trade guild. Even more upsetting is the news that Laston will be his successor. William understands the minister's reaction. He wonders how many more times he will have to see a similar picture. But MC says that he came not only to convey news, but also with a request. The minister finds out what the request is. William explains that he has a mountain hut not far from the capital, in the village of Bergen, and he wants to open a workshop there. The minister is intrigued. A workshop in their country? William says he wants to take his time setting up the workshop at first. The minister immediately gives his confident permission for this. After all, he is very pleased that such a talented master as William will live in their country. The minister promises to send a letter of approval to the village of Bergen. He wishes to work hard and not hold back. William expresses his deepest gratitude in response. Here, finally, William and Rudy are on site, in the village near the hut. And William declares that this place will be the starting point of their new life. The hut is a small house, knocked together from boards, which has become quite slanted from time, Pieces of the roof have fallen off. This structure clearly requires some work. Rudy accepts the new shelter without much enthusiasm. Standing in front of the house, William thinks that the hut is SOSO, but it is a decent place to start, and permission has already been received from the headman of the village of Bergen. MC claims that he is a craftsman and therefore is able to clean up the house on his own. But today, after a long journey, it is necessary to have a quick dinner and go to bed. William continues to sleep soundly at dawn, and in his sleep hears a knock on the door. Without getting out of bed, he asks who is there. The answer is silence. He approaches the door and opens it slightly. In front of him is a beautiful blonde with a greeting. "Good morning, William." MC, confused and surprised, asks again, "Mrs. Lemmet? How did the beautiful lady end up here?" William doesn't understand. Lemmet says that from today on she wants to make a pact of fidelity with him. Huh? What? William asks again. He can't believe these words. Thus began the second life of MC. In a completely unexpected way. William with inspiration and sparkle in her eyes and declares that she has found him. MC asks again what she is doing here. Lemmet begins to explain that after William left, the Averg house was not happy with either the Barnett Trading Company or the new manager, Laston. Lemmet reports that their family has terminated their contract with Barnett. From such information, MC's eyes bulge madly and his mouth opens. He could only utter a question. What? At the same time, the witnesses of the conversation between William and Lemmet are the mistress's maids standing at a distance behind her back and Rudy watching what is happening from the roof of the hut. The events began a couple of days ago when the Averg family arrived at the Barnett Company. They were met by Mr. Barnett himself with his son. He declared that from now on Laston Barnett will make every effort to accommodate all requests. Laston cast a sly glance at the Averg family. He addressed Mrs. Lemmet with particular delicacy, declaring that he was glad to meet them for the first time. At the same time, he took the lady's right hand, brought it closer to himself, and kissed it, saying that he was Laston Barnett and nice to meet him. Lemmet was so embarrassed and confused by this that she could only giggle in response. The Averg family was very unhappy with the way the meeting was going. It was expressed in his gaze and facial expressions. Lemmet was also very upset. Barnett announced that the order was ready and that he, Laston, personally carried it out. At this point, workers brought in boxes with packed orders. Laston presented an order which included cuirasses for the personal guard of the House of Averg. The Averg family took the cuirass in his hands and examined the product. He asked with a serious, focused look whether Chairman Barnett had checked the final finishing. Barnett responded energetically and in good spirits. Yes, of course. William's development allowed the cuirass to be adjusted to the owner's body. The head of Averg continued to speak, while he seriously continued to examine the finished product. This cuirass is not adjustable and touches the arm. You can't swing a sword normally with it, he continued. Lemmet looked askance at her father and felt his indignation. His soldiers from House Averg are like family to him. He continued speaking in a raised voice. He cannot endanger them by arming them with crude and one-sided equipment. Head of Averg has already said infuriatedly that he sees neither a sincere attitude to work, nor the honesty that you expect from a weapons supplier. And the treatment of his daughter is completely unacceptable. Laston turned completely white, and his gaze became sad. The head of Averg announced that he was terminating the contract. William listens to this story with great surprise. The pupils of his eyes dilated incredibly. Lemmet continues that after all this, the question of the future of the House of Averg arose. She thought about it and decided to conclude an exclusive contract with William, and the location was suggested by Minister Gorey. Okay, William replies after listening to the story to the end. Lemmet says it is impossible to work under the current conditions that William has. MC's gaze drops from such an assessment of the lady. But Lemmet cheerfully states that she is here because she wants them to continue their collaboration, and she has come to help. William wonders what she is going to do. Lemmet replies, permission has been received from his father. MC clarifies what this means. She speaks if William doesn't mind. They all want to live here. The maids accompanying the mistress answer in chorus. William's mouth drops open in surprise, and his eyes widen incredibly. And yet, she always dreamed of such a life, says Lemmet, and begins to whirl around in the dance with incredible pleasure. One of the maids said that the mistress always dreamed of the life of an adventurer, and that's why it happened. A girl with long hair and formal clothes approaches the MC. She says, Mr. William, we haven't seen each other for a long time. She is Agnes, the senior maid in the Averg house. William is surprised by her presence, and she adds that she was ordered to accompany the young lady. Such is the order of the head of the family. Agnes begins to tell that the young lady was very worried about Mr. William when he left the company, and now she is overjoyed that she was able to meet him again. During this conversation, the maids were busy unloading the luggage that had arrived with them on carts. Agnes goes on to explain that the Averg family will of course support Mr. William, but they would also like to help. William expresses his gratitude, but he prefers to diligently do his job and just live a second life in peace. And he says these words with a touching look, closing his eyes. What do you mean? Agnes tries to clarify warily. No, nothing, William answers, turns around and leaves, thinking what a beautiful morning it is today. William thinks this is how things are going, and he was going to live a quiet life. There are shouts nearby. Come on, Paul. The major's starting to set up the tent camp. They work with inspiration and passion. William looks at them, and a sparkle lights up in his dull gaze. A smile appears on his face. Recalling previous years of work, MC does not remember periods of life when he was engaged in collective work. He sees Limit and the maids rejoicing over another tent being set up and thinks he should try to live this life somehow differently. William was just lost in his dreams when Limit couldn't hold back and fell to the ground with another tent and a piercing scream. The maids who were helping her only managed to scream in surprise. Getting up, she thinks that setting up a tent is also not an easy task. William approaches them and says that 5 people will be cramped in this tent, and it is dangerous to spend the night outside. He continues. Limit tries to object to him. William comes closer to her and, looking into her face, says that since Mr. Averg has given his consent, and Mrs. Limit is so inclined then, MC starts to ask emotionally what they all think about moving in together in his cabin. He's just about to renovate it and is ready to add extra rooms. For Limit, this was an unexpected but pleasant offer. Her eyes widened incredibly. She asks the question. She has no desire to burden William. Won't they get in the way? MC cheerfully winks his left eye and cheerfully replies, "It's always more fun in a big company. They will be just like a real team of adventurers." William announces that the expansion will require a considerable amount of materials and asks for help. Everyone agrees. The area around was wooded. After a short time, they were able to prepare a fairly large amount of construction timber. Looking at the preparation, William declares that this is quite enough. Once everything was ready to go, William set to work with great enthusiasm. He inspects the condition of the hut and understands that when everything falls apart, it is not time to expand, but to start with repairs. Initially, the MC removes all destroyed and unusable elements of the building. Then the structure is reinforced. Limit and the maids watch William at work with admiration. She gazes at the window of the hut and becomes lost in her memories. Limit recalls she was preparing for an important family event with the help of her maid Agnes. Limit was not in the mood. Agnes then said that the mistress should not sulk. She was a beauty, and with such a look, all her charm would be lost. Limit tried to object. Agnes continued, "This evening is an important reception, including because a groom is being selected for her." Limit sat humbly in front of the mirror, and Agnes continued to speak and asked her not to think of running away again, as she had done last time. The lady was very offended by such words. Limit understood that she was the only daughter in the Averg family. At various events, nobles often try to get to know her and start a relationship in order to obtain the power of the Averg family through her father. No one really cares about her personally. Continuing to remember his past, Limit hears a voice behind him. "I brought an evening dress for you. It's ready." Turning around, she is surprised to see William in front of her. Limit immediately tries on the dress. She is delighted with her reflection in the mirror. Agnes and William adjust and hem the dress. William asks how Lady Limit feels in it. William begins to explain that the lady has a characteristic habit of actively gesturing while talking, so he made sure that the embroidery on the cuffs looked spectacular when she moved. Looking at the cuffs of the dress together, William continues to explain that the image on the cuff is a fairy flower, and it is a symbol of the flight of fantasy, purity, freedom, and means Tenba Koku. William adds that he thought it was perfect for her, and Limit looks at him with a sparkle in her eyes. A voice is heard, "That's it." Limit returns from pleasant memories. In front of her, there is a new window and a completely renovated hut, unrecognizable. William cheerfully declares, addressing Limit, that their mansion is of course still far away, but it is quite suitable for an overnight stay. The lady replies, she disagrees. This is a great haven for adventurers. It's breathtaking. The hut has been completely transformed, sparkling with fresh paint and emitting the smell of new building materials. It is no longer an old, decrepit building. William, Limit, and the maids enter the renovated hut. MC inspects the results of the renovation inside the room and says that it would be nice to furnish everything with furniture and other things so that it would be a real base. Limit is very pleased with the situation and expresses her gratitude to William, with a smile on her face and her eyes narrowed in pleasure. MC says with great pleasure that it's time to have dinner. Everyone has been working so hard that they haven't even had lunch. He says there's a river nearby, and in his opinion you can catch fish in it. Limit grabbed her face with her hands and thought She had never been fishing before, but she really wanted to try it, so she actively supported this proposal. Then William suggests taking some tree branch cuttings and making your own fishing rods. And so they all head off to the riverbank to go fishing. Agnes is the first to show her skills. She deftly handles the fishing rod and the fish net. The other maids watch her with great enthusiasm. William also notices that Agnes is excellent at fishing. Limit started biting, and out of surprise she grabbed the rod with both hands and screamed. William got the bite. MC calmly replies, "Mrs. Limit, gently pull towards you." Due to inexperience, the fish jumps off the hook. William approaches the upset Limit and reassures her, "Madam, next time everything will definitely work out." She turns to William with a request, to which he asks for clarification on the topic. Limit stands in front of William and shyly looks down, asking him to stop addressing her formally. MC is perplexed, and the lady continues, "She is younger than William, and it will be better for her if he starts addressing her as an equal." MC tries to object. Limit can't take it anymore and hysterically shouts that from now on any form of address as you is prohibited. William, scratching the back of his head with a grin, replies that it is clear. The lady demands to be called by her simple name. MC, embarrassed, after hesitating, says, "Limit." "Well done." His mistress praises him. The sound of fish splashing can be heard in the river. "Rudy is telling me that the fish are biting, so we need to do something." William and Limit take the rod together, and MC gives advice on how to carefully pull out the bite. Meanwhile, in a completely different place, Eri Tachibana, the leader of the adventure group Moonlight, is conducting another hunt. She is a fragile yet agile adventurer girl with long dark hair and a bandage covering her right eye. Her weapon is the ice whip. She knocks out the royal Hurricross, as evidenced by the adventurers accompanying her. She returns home, and a large group of adventurers greet her and are very happy not only about her return, but also about the decent amount of resources she brought back from the hunt. Laston is also among those greeting. He greets Mrs. Tachibana and tries to find out how much she liked the whip he made. The lady passes by without turning her gaze in his direction, and he continues to find out if his product is not gorgeous, since he used the skin of the Amawis sea crocodile. He also asks about combat boots next time. Laston shows off his boots and boasts that they are made of red deer skin. He regrets that he got such boots dirty, but this place is just awful. Laston can't calm down and continues to find out whether the lady liked his products, because it was not for nothing that he dragged himself to such a wilderness. Finally, he hears Eri's sharp response, "This whip is no good." Laston is simply taken aback by this. Eri gives the whip to Laston and says that the attack power has not increased, it is completely lacking in power. And she adds something else, looking thoughtful and serious. This is by no means William's level. Not at all. She doesn't feel the same power as before. Laston, with a downcast look, ponders what could be so different about these whips. At this moment, one of the adventurers comes up and announces that a letter has arrived for Eri. From whom? Eri specifies. From the House of Averg. The messenger clarifies. Averg family castle. There is a meeting scheduled for this evening. At the same time, William and Limit have fun and usefully spend time fishing. In the office of the Barnett Company, a powerful slam of a fist on the table is heard. Mr. Barnett, who is sitting at his desk, screams in incredible anger. What is going on? Why the hell are clients breaking their contracts with our guild one after another? He continues. What the hell are you doing idle? He yells at the employees standing before him humbly with their heads down. Laston, entering, addresses him. He continues. The leader of the Moonlight Group recently received a letter from the Averg House. She is a former client of William. Is the Averg House plotting against them? What? Mr. Barnett is even more furious. Is Fried Averg up to something behind our backs? Barnett yells that he won't let him do whatever he wants, and demands that all this information be thoroughly investigated immediately. That's how Eri thinks. She is already heading through the corridors of the Averg Palace to a business meeting. Entering the conference room, she sees that there are 3 people present besides her, and Mr. Fried announces that they are now all assembled. Mr. Averg begins the meeting by saying that he has gathered here all of William's most influential clients from different fields. At the same time, everyone present listens attentively. To report the results of his own investigation, Fried continues. He says that leaving William in the shadows any longer would be an unforgivable waste of talent. At first glance, his works seem simple and uncomplicated, but they are thought out to the smallest detail, created with care for the client, comfortable and beautiful. They all simply need him, Mr. Fried continues, and so he asks for support by providing the necessary assistance. Mr. Saxon, he addresses a gray-haired elderly man with a thick beard and mustache, who is the head of the Foggy Green Island. Fried tries to find out his attitude to the situation, to which Mr. Saxon replies that he highly values William's work and is not against helping him because he is a good guy. Besides, William is a nice guy. He continues, all because his daughter likes him. She has a good eye for people. This guy is probably a good one. It looks like that, Mr. Saxon, says Fried with a mysterious smile on his face. And what about you, Mr. Tennis? Fried asks his next interlocutor. What would the legendary blacksmith say about the situation? According to rumors, he was the one who taught William blacksmithing. Yes, it was a sight to behold watching him work so enthusiastically, Tennis answers. He is a venerable gray-haired man, wise with life experience. He has an unshaven, not particularly well-groomed face and rather long eyebrows. The hair on his head is gathered in a bun at the back of his head. Tennis continues to say that William has a talent for blacksmithing. He likes to create something. He also wants to help him develop further. And what does Eri Tachibana think? He asks the girl Tennis sitting next to him. Eri replies that her main weapon was created by William, and she has never seen anything better in her life. Where he went is a big question for her. Mr. Fried, with a calm, business-like air, suggests moving on to the main topic of discussion. He begins to explain that some time ago William came to say goodbye before leaving. Then Mr. Averg asked what William was planning to do next, and he replied that he had a request for the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Gori from the Kingdom of Murkies. Do you think Minister Gori might know his current location? Asks Mr. Saxon. Yes, Mr. Averg answers. And so he asked his daughter Limit to watch over William and follow him in life. He himself could not leave home, and Limit went on a journey. She is already an adult. It is time for her to travel. Fried continues with emotion. With these words, Eri's gaze changed. She was thinking about something. So he gave away his daughter, Tennis thinks. Saxon starts looking sideways at Fried with a serious, dissatisfied face. So they got around her, Eri concludes. Saxon stutters and says that he remembered urgent matters. He asks for forgiveness and leaves the meeting. Tennis says that he completely forgot about the need to pass on the assignment to his granddaughter. Old age is no joy. He ends the conversation and leaves. Eri says that unfortunately she also cannot stay any longer, and everyone leaves the palace together. Fried is left alone at the table, propping his face up with his hand and closing his eyes, thinking that everyone is thinking the same thing. And at this time, in William's hut, Limit enjoys a cup of aromatic tea. She asks William what happened. He is busy preparing dinner, picks up a jar of spices, looks into it, and says that they need to buy spices because there are more of them and he wants more variety in food. William says they'll go shopping today and take a short ride to the port town of Bart. Will they ride in her carriage? Limit asks. Then we'll ask someone to look after her in the village of Bergen, she continues. At that moment, a squeak is heard, and it's Rudy turning to them. And before their eyes, Rudy begins to increase in size, while squealing happily. William explains that Rudy can become huge, so much so that he can lift people on himself. Limit, saying lovely bird, pats Rudy on the head with great pleasure. The whole company settled comfortably on Rudy's back and took off. After a short period of time, William shouts, I can already see, look, the coast and the port town of Barth were visible on the horizon. After a successful landing, the whole friendly company is in a great mood and enters the city, which mainly consists of small one-story buildings and an adjacent port, actually within the city. Fishing boats are parked all along the shore and also placed on land along the shore. The first thing they all do is head to the city market and notice that it has become more lively. William hears a voice behind him. Hello, William. How old are you? MC turns around. In front of him is a man of 50, a brunette with a thick beard and mustache. He happily introduces himself as Mayor Markham. Is this your fiancée? He continues, looking at his fellow traveler William. Wow, William, Markham stops. MC asks not to joke, because he is with the daughter of the Averg family. Averg shouts out to Markham in surprise and asks for forgiveness for being rude. And how did William manage to get involved with her? Quietly whispering into Markham's ear, he asks again. MC says it's a whole story. William says in surprise that the market is very lively. Perhaps something has changed in the city since his last visit? Markham replies that deposits of magic have been discovered near the city. He continues, there are many more people, more shops, business is growing. Maybe William should think about opening his own shop? Asks Markham. The unexpected question makes MC pause and think. Limit, who is accompanying him, immediately lights up with the idea. William, that's a great idea. Let's start our own business. She shouts. William says calmly, but no. As he says goodbye, Markham tells William to think about the proposal. He is confident of its success because he has the ability to do so. William wonders what he can come up with that will sell well. In general, he wonders what the locals want to buy. And he even closes his eyes, straining his brain in search of an idea. And then a thought suddenly occurs to him, because today he came to buy groceries. And they all start wandering around the city market together. and now they're happily following with bags full of various products. Limit says that they have bought quite a lot of vegetables. William notes that in time, they will be able to plow the land near the house and start a vegetable garden. Limit happily declares, "Thank you," MC replies, but without experience, even using a hoe is dangerous, and offers to rely on his abilities. "Welcome, young people," says an elderly woman with a covered head, the fish counter vendor. Looking at the counter, William can't help but notice how delicious the fish is. "And what kind of broth does it make?" the fish seller adds. Hearing the word broth, William thinks, broth is good of course. But if we could get some soy sauce, we could make sashimi, MC muses. But in this world, it's not customary to eat raw fish, he continues to reason. Another interesting thing is soy sauce. Miso. If you grow soybeans in a field, then maybe you can make miso, he continues to think. Lost in his memories, William realizes that he misses his grandmother's cooking as a child. "William, what happened?" interrupts Agnes's reverie with a question. MC returns to reality and replies, "Nothing special." He believes that ever since he regained his memories of his past life, he's been terribly drawn to Japanese cuisine. Their company leaves the market, and they see a fishing schooner unloading its catch. They approach the unloading site and are met by one of the fishermen. William looks through the boxes with the catch, and something catches his eye. He screams in surprise. "Is that a kraken?" he asks. "Yes, there are small krakens in the local waters," the fisherman replies. "In winter they go to the northern seas and grow to large sizes," he continues. "Do they eat this?" Lemmet asks. "No. Who would eat such horror? They just constantly get caught in the net," the fisherman replies. He explains that the krakens eat the fish right in the nets, and there is nothing left to do but grind it up and use it as fish food. It's a shame, William thinks. After thinking about it, he asks if he can take it. The fisherman replies, "If you need it, take it, but what are you going to do with it?" William takes the kraken with him with a grin. At this moment, a large catamaran moors to the shore with a grinding noise. There are shouts on the shore. Mr. Saxon is back. Hooray! Pleased with his return, Saxon confidently steps off the deck of his ship. With the words, upon returning to him, the girl throws herself on his neck. Saxon asks her if Sonal behaved well in his absence. The tall young man who greets Saxon says, "Welcome back, father." Saxon greets him back, "Ganel, thank you for looking after the house." Together, Sonal and Ganel ask if they will really see William. William and Limit are in their yard near the hut. William is making something, using a couple of gears. He thinks that to make it turn, he will have to build a windmill. Limit wonders what William is doing. She watches from behind him and asks, "He just returned from the city of Haybart and is already making something. And what is he doing anyway?" Phew. Just as MC is about to answer, quick footsteps are heard. William and Limit listen in confusion as to who it could be. At this moment, a short brunette girl runs in and happily rushes to hug MC. She shouts out, "William." Sonal. He recognizes the girl and hugs her back. William is greeted by a tall, dark-haired young man. "Ganel, what are you doing here?" With these words, MC rushes towards him. Limit's expression changes. She is very unhappy and does not hide it. "What happened, Limit?" William asks. "Rudy, long time no see." Sonal addresses the eagle owl as it flies up. William gathers all the guests in the house and asks for a minute of attention. He introduces that this is Sonal from the Jade Island and her older brother Ganel. The guests greet everyone present in return. Sonal starts telling that when her father returned from his trip, he asked her to help William. That's why she is here. Ganel says that he also wants to be useful to Mr. William. "And what does that mean?" William asks in response. Limit, who is present, says Kirishima is the leader of the Saxons. William asks how she knows about the Saxons. In fact, Limit says her father recently contacted all of William's former clients, including Saxon. They all met at the Averg family estate and were more likely discussing William. As she understood, they all wanted to help him. Help? William thinks. Sonal says that as soon as his father heard that William was going to work, he told him and his brother to come and help. And also, Ganel adds, his father ordered that an order be placed. William thought about it. Limit adds that his father probably told other clients about his situation, so there might be more guests. William begins to understand. MC reflects on how nice it is to know that even after leaving the Barnett Guild, people still need him. However, he understands. Now he doesn't think that his second life will be spent in silence and creating all sorts of things. He looks at the whole company gathered in his hut and assumes that in the future it will be quite noisy. Ganel appears and asks what William just made. MC replies that he showed up just in time and asks if he would like to help a little. "Yes, of course," agrees Ganel. Limit and Sonal are standing by the window. Ganel asks with interest what is going on. William replies that it's a secret for now and laughs. Sonal says his brother has no skills, but loves to tinker. He always learned from William. Gannel and William approach the gear mechanism. Gannel examines the gear surface and is surprised. This is the same processing that William recently taught him. Exactly. He remembers, confirms MC. They take logs and start making things. After some time, William is surprised. Wow, it's almost ready. Agnes approaches them and says that she is going into the forest for food. William worries whether she will be okay. She asks not to worry. Gannel asks Sonal to also go and help with Agnes. Sonal agrees. They are asked not to go too deep into the forest. Limit wants to ask William a question, but doesn't dare. William personally, she wants Limit to go with them too. William tries to clarify, won't it be dangerous? Agnes assures that she will take care of Limit's safety, and Sonal will be with them. William agrees, and the three of them go into the forest to hunt. Already in the forest, Agnes notices the prey, pulls the bowstring bow, takes aim, and shoots. Sonal says she thinks Agnes is an excellent bowman. Agnes leaves to retrieve the loot. Limit looks into the depths of the forest and sees glowing lights in the darkness, similar to the eyes of an animal. A seasoned wild boar with huge tusks emerges from the darkness. She screams at the top of her lungs, Agnes. The boar sees the stranger and is ready to attack. He lunges towards Limit. At this moment, the lady screams at Agnes, but Sonal manages to run up. She jumps out to intercept and kicks the boar in midair. It bounces back. Sonal asks Limit if she is okay. She, in a frightened state, with a slurred voice, answers, yes, thank you. And then Agnes runs up to them. And at this time, near the hut, at the table, William and Gannel are talking. William is interested. He is surprised that Zaxxon sent two assistants at once. Even Sonal, although it seems that one Gannel is enough. Gannel explains that Sonal really wanted to meet William herself. William is surprised by this fact. Gannel continues, there are special minerals on the Jade Island, which is why many people come there. But William, when he arrived on the island, was not at all interested in the value of these minerals. He made various products from the local luminous shells. He gave tools and knowledge to make life better. Gannel says that William knows how to win people over, and Sonal saw it right away and was the first to make contact. Gannel clarifies that she was open and sincere from the start. She has a keen eye for people, Gannel continues. Plus, Sonal has great intuition, and William has proven to be a dedicated person. He also seems to genuinely enjoy his craft. Even his father, because of Sonal, began to trust William. After all, his daughter herself opened up to him. William says to this, understandably. Gannel starts shouting and tries to explain that he wants to help and will definitely cope. It was with this thought that he rushed to help William, Gannel concludes. William hears voices and says it seems they have returned. They turn around to see the girls returning with good trophies. Limit is beaming with a smile on his lips. Sonal is moving briskly and carrying a huge carcass of a wild boar, and with them is an unperturbed Agnes. Sometime later, at the city market bar. Welcome, come on in. Dry Kraken, come on in. Gannel and Agnes are trading, surrounded by a crowd of surprised and curious customers. Meanwhile, at the estate, Limit watches the windmill spin and marvels at how quickly the structure was built. William, together with Gannel, was able to build a dryer for the production of dried kraken. After finishing the work, William thanks Gannel because it would have been difficult for him to do it alone. He, in turn, notes that in the process he learned a lot about processing gears and is also grateful. MC believes that to improve the design, it is worth using bearings in the rotation areas. What are these bearings? Asks Gannel. These are the parts with balls for better rotation, William answers. At the market, one of the buyers, an older man, asks why the hell this is a dried kraken, and Sonal says it deliciously and immediately starts biting off the kraken's carcass. Limit presents the customer with a dried kraken paw on a plate and offers him a helping. The man takes the paw, bites it off, and savors it, saying how unusual it is that the more you chew, the richer the taste. This tasting process attracts a huge number of buyers who, with exclamations of "and give me one too," want to taste the new product. Oh, William, this is a full house, a voice comes from behind him. William turns around and sees Markham in front of him. He continues, who would have thought that dried kraken could be made into such a delicious treat? William recalls events of past years and states that he saw something similar in one port city. MC tells the mayor that when preparing the kraken, it is spun to dry it quickly, and if you fry it a little more, it turns out very tasty. I wish I could pour some soy sauce on it, William mutters, lost in thought. Soy sauce? The mayor asks again. It doesn't matter, William replies. Trading was brisk that day. Towards evening, a cool breeze blew in from the sea. William strolls along the shore with Rudy on his shoulder and thinks rather that there is always such a pleasant breeze here. He looks into the distance of the vast expanse of water, enjoying the beautiful view. Seeing a small forest in the distance on the horizon, He thinks that behind those forests is probably the capital of the kingdom. The path directly through the forest will be the shortest. As a result, the dried kraken was completely sold out at the current fair. The whole team breathed a sigh of relief after such a busy day. Limit turns to William. Should such a business bring in a good income? William replies that he is not actually going to sell the kraken itself. He would like to sell the dryer itself. Limit is taken aback by this answer. William explains in front of the entire team that if you dry the kraken and sell it, you can make good money, but it's only money. He wants people in the city to start making their own fish in this dryer and selling it. MC continues that if others find out about this and a flood of visitors begins, then this business will become a local landmark and they will be able to sell dryers to other cities. If the plan is successful and they can sell the dryers, then the lives of the locals will improve at least a little. Limit. Agnes and Gannel look at William with admiration after these words. There's a scream. William. He turns around and sees Sonal, saying, yes, you can eat him raw, attack the kraken, and start chewing the raw meat. Everyone looks at what Sonal is doing with bewilderment. She tries to eat a raw kraken. Limit calls for her to stop, otherwise she'll get a stomachache. Gannel asks her not to put everything in her mouth and asks where she got it. Sonal replies, my fisherman uncle gave it to her. Sometime later, the sound of a hoe in the field. William looks at Limit, Agnes, Gannel, and Sonal working hard, and thanks everyone, they were able to dig up the field decently. Sonal plants seeds in the beds and wonders how quickly everything will grow and how soon it will be edible. William replies, Sonal, growing food takes a long time. It's not crafting. Everything is different here. It is necessary to slowly observe the process of plant growth and feed them with fertilizers. William declares loudly. She's hungry, complains Sonal. At this moment, one of the maids shouts, William, guests. MC is very pleased. This is Mayor Markham from Hubbard. They go into the hut and sit down at the table. Tea drinking begins. The mayor says that he only had to drop into the neighboring village on business for a short while, and in Hubbard everyone is already doing nothing but discussing the William product. These dryers, pinwheels are spinning everywhere. William says he has a few more additional orders coming in. There seems to be a lot of work to do. The mayor asks. He continues that it is difficult to get here, a real torture. You have to go around the whole forest. Yes, there is such a thing, confirms William. The mayor enjoys his tea and thinks. William gets going and says with shining eyes, what if we build a road between Hubbard and the capital directly? Road? The mayor's eyes widen in surprise. William continues, of course this will greatly facilitate the movement of potential clients. True, it is necessary to obtain permission from Minister Gori. Markham replies, this is a great idea. The city residents will be delighted. On such a positive note, they end the conversation and say goodbye. William calls Rudy over for a minute and asks for help once again. And now Rudy is ready for another journey. The whole team is assembled and comfortably settled in for the flight. They are heading for the capital. Having flown high enough, William surveys the surroundings. He sees many buildings in the distance to the left and says, there is Hubbard, which means the royal capital is located on the other side. Flying closer, William says that this is what he expected. A few days later, the whole company is in the capital of the kingdom. Gannel and Sonal are walking through the streets of the capital. Sonal is so amazed by what she sees and emotionally surprised by how lively it is here. Gannel asks Sonal not to lag behind. They approach a city lamppost, and Gannel wonders if these are street lamps powered by glowing stones. Behind them, William and Limit are moving. Sonal and Gannel are very cheerful and happy. Limit asks why they went to the capital. William replies that they need to submit a report and ask for Minister Gori for something. He sent a letter to the minister in advance and warned that it would be today. William continues. Besides, says MC, looking at the friends walking ahead, Sonal and Gannel arrived with them, who had never been to the capital, and the trip would be useful for them to broaden their horizons. In the minister's reception room, they are met by a pretty, intelligent-looking girl with glasses, long, beautifully styled hair. She is dressed in a fashionable business suit. It's been a while, William, she says happily. Juris, good to see you. Greetings, William. Juris is Minister Gori's assistant. She greets all the guests and announces that the minister will be free soon. After a short time, they enter the minister's office. He greets them sitting in his office chair with a monocle in his left eye and apologizes for the wait. William says there's no need to apologize. He's glad to see you again. And who is this? The minister asks, looking through his monocle at those standing in front of him. Limit bows in greeting and says that she is glad to meet them. She is Limit from the House of Averg, and the House of Averg is very glad to see the minister in good health. William then introduces himself. With him, Sonal and Gannel from the Emerald Isle. They introduce themselves accordingly. The children of the Saxon chieftain, the minister specifies. He reports that he learned from the letters that Mr. Fried is holding conversations with William clients, and William is becoming more lively. It looks like there will be even more of them arriving, says the minister and laughs. William laughed too. So what will we talk about today? The minister gets back to business. William modestly and excitedly holds out a rolled-up piece of paper, which he holds in his right hand. He says he wants to get permission to build a road. Road? The minister says meaningfully. William rolls out a map of the area on the table in front of the minister, while he says that he has goods that are popular with the residents of Hubbard and a number of customers visiting his workshop will soon increase. Therefore, he now wants to pave the way from Hubbard to his workshop. On the map, he shows the proposed road construction plan, comparing the existing and the proposed future route. And in the future, William continues. He plans to continue the journey to the capital. The minister is delighted with these plans. William explains to the minister that the only way to deliver magic ore from Hubbard to the Melky's kingdom is via sea. With the advent of a land trade route, the trade turnover will increase, won't it? This would also be beneficial for our country, says Minister Juris, who is present at the meeting. The minister replies, William, this plan has been discussed before, but clearing dense forest is a huge investment of time and money. The minister looks into MC's face and continues to speak. They would be grateful if William himself took on this job. Will the government be able to rely on him? The minister tries to find out. At the same time, Juris stands behind the minister and smiles mysteriously. William waits for the minister to finish his speech and confidently declares that yes, he can be relied upon. The minister states that he is very grateful for the business proposal and of course gives permission for the work to be carried out. He adds that he can trust William with peace of mind. So the area around his home will become something of a transit point, Kougei says with a smile. The minister abruptly changes the tone of the conversation, raises the index finger of his right hand, and emotionally asks William if he wants to found an entire village. MC is at a loss at such a proposal. Or here's a great idea. Having calmed down a bit, Kougei says you can build something like a hotel, and you can also use magic or for crafting and start trading various goods. Yes, stuttering from the unexpected proposal, says William. Juris leans towards the minister and says that, unfortunately, the time allotted for the meeting has ended. The minister nods in understanding. Kougei gets up from her seat, asks William for forgiveness. He is busy with some business, and before leaving asks not to take everything to heart. Okay, William agrees. The gang returns home to their hut, and William thinks, wow, he only wanted permission to build a road, but received an offer to build an entire village. Somehow their scale has grown, William understands, but it sounds interesting, he thinks and recalls the series of events that preceded the present time. Meanwhile, at Barnett's trading house, Mr. Barnett is angry again. Once again slams his fist on the table with all his might and says, what is this? Is the House of Averg really luring away William's clients and helping him? Laston enters Mr. Barnett's office and immediately declares, Father, it seems that orders from the Kingdom of Murkies are also being reduced. The Kingdom of Murkies, Barnett says indignantly. Laston begins, the Trade Guild has an agreement with the Military Bureau of the Kingdom of Murkies on priority import of goods. But recently, it seems that there are those who are dissatisfied with this, and it seems that there are attempts to revise the agreement. Mr. Barnett, after listening to the information, says, well, and also the former Minister of Foreign Affairs Murkies, he gave him so many bribes, and so easily lost his post, he turned out to be a useless guy. Kougei removed him. Wait a minute, said Barnett thoughtfully. Is this William somehow connected with Gowrie? Laston's face changes, but he continues, Minister Kougei is a key figure among those who advocate revising the treaty. William is trying to destroy their company, Laston concludes. Laston says that Minister Gowrie's name was on William's client list, and he starts checking the list. Damn you, shouts an indignant Mr. Barnett. Thunderstorms are starting everywhere. It has been raining for several days now. William and Limit stand by the window, watching the weather. When will this rain stop? Says William. At this moment, he notices that the first very small sprout has appeared in the sown field. And Sunil, with great curiosity and joy, rushes to run into the field, despite the heavy rain. She runs up and tenderly and lovingly covers this small and still weak sprout with an umbrella from the bad weather. Later, Lemmet, together with William, continues to look through the window at this miracle of nature with undisguised delight. The rains in the Iridian Valley have not stopped for several days. The rivers are starting to overflow their banks, despite all the efforts of residents to strengthen dams and dikes. Under the pressure of water, they begin to collapse. The destruction of bridge crossings begins. It's time to cut down the forest and build a road connecting Hubbard to the capital. William and company begin to work. After a short time of work, MC wipes the sweat from his face and thinks that the forest is really too dense. He understands why the kingdom hasn't been here before. He thinks that maybe it's worth trying something. William takes out his sacred staff, wrist stake, and everyone around is surprised by what's happening. Limit asks if he's okay, and Agnes jokes and wonders if he still knows the art of witchcraft. To which William replies, quite seriously, in fact, he has a contract with the staff and he thinks he can use it. Already upon arrival in the forest, William swings his staff, no matter what, hits it on the ground and says, "Wind, clear the way through the forest." The whole friendly company behind him watches what is happening with curiosity. A vortex immediately forms in the air. The whirlwind subsides and everyone, including William, silently watches the process. They are discouraged and speechless from what they see. Limit's voice urges you to ignore everything and continue working. William then reflects. He has never used magic in his life before, and crafting is not the same as throwing fireballs. It turns out that now it's just a toy, thinks MC. He wants to learn how to do real magic someday. William once again replays in his memory all the events that happened to him up to this day and thinks, since he has a chance to be reborn in this world. At this moment, the approaching clatter of hooves is heard. A rider appears, a blond man with short hair. He flies up to MC on horseback and asks her to admit if he is the skilled craftsman William. William, he confirms this. The rider excitedly explains that he is a Norman from the knightly order of the Kingdom of Melkis. An urgent request has been received. William is asked to restore the bridge of Iridian. Norman explains in detail that after heavy rains the river overflowed its banks. The Iridian bridge that spans it is partially destroyed and impossible to cross. Norman is invited into the hut for a talk. They sit down at the table and begin drinking tea. Norman explains in detail that this bridge is an important crossing on the highway connecting the capital with the neighboring state. There are bypass routes, of course, but they have to make a big detour through the mountains. And the road there is narrow for horse-drawn carriages, a real torture. William listens and remembers that the road there is really terrible. Norman continues to share information. The request for repairs to the Iridian bridge came personally from Minister Gowrie. He asks William to provide assistance to the kingdom. MC states that he understands everything and is leaving immediately. Rudy for help, and he is, as always, ready for the road. William says he is leaving, and Ganel and Sonal are going with him. He is ready to craft everything needed on the spot. Ganel suggests taking some materials with him. Sonal is very happy about the opportunity for a new trip. Limit indignantly tells her that she will not have to play around on the spot, but will have to do serious work, and there is no reason to have fun. After saying goodbye to everyone, the three of them set off on their trip. Limit sadly sees them off and watches Rudy fly away. Agnes comes up and says, "Madam, there's nothing you can do this time." Agnes continues that they can hardly help the victims now. She suggests that they look after the house together while William is away. Limit continues to look at the sky and watches Rudy's silhouette disappear into the distance. William and company arrive in the Iridian Valley. They are met by Juris, who says that she's expecting them and has come to inspect the affected areas in place of Minister Gowrie. William greets her. Sonal is overjoyed to see Juris greeting them. Things have taken a serious turn, Juris explains, as they all watch as the river has destroyed entire spans of the bridge. She continues, not only the bridge has been damaged, but also the nearby village. A rescue team from the capital should arrive soon. Behind him, he hears a voice. "Oh, William," he turned around. In front of him is a gray-haired, bearded man of venerable age, who declares that they have not seen each other for a long time. Mr. Bird recognizes him, William. Mr. Bird begins to tell. Minister Gowrie said that he asked William to restore this bridge and ask for additional help. And he gathered the craftsmen and immediately rushed to the place. William, after listening to Mr. Bird, declares that things will be much easier with you guys. William turns to Ganel and Sonal and explains to them that Mr. Bird is a carpenter, the head of a group of incredibly skilled craftsmen to whom William has long been indebted. Mr. Bird asks, "Tell me how you can help. They are ready to do everything." William walks up to the Bird crew and greets them. They're all happy to see each other. One of the workers says William, there was a rumor that he left the Barnet Guild, and he was already upset that they would not be able to work together anymore. Another says he is glad that they are back on the same team. The third says working with him is always full of surprises. Today is a real holiday. "I can't wait for it to start," says the next one. Surveying the aftermath of the destruction, Bird says they have cleared almost all of the debris, splinters, and rubbish. They are really quick guys. William is surprised. The boss, one of the workers who is at the bridge support, calls Mr. Bird. He calls you to come and see what he has discovered. William and Bird ask what's going on and run towards him. They run to the support. Mr. Bird is surprised. He sees traces of artificial damage, broken stones at the base of the support, and says, "It looks like someone tried to break the bridge support." What does he mean? William clarifies. Bird responds that there was a deliberate attempt to destroy the bridge. Juris listens to the information about the incident and says that this bridge is an important trade route connecting the country with its neighbor, which means that these villains do not approve of trade with neighboring countries. This is the work of opponents of the revision of the treaty, she continues. William is nearby and thinks about what kind of agreement and what opponents. He does not fully understand this information. Juris explains that the fact is that Minister Gouri is now trying to amend one agreement. She explains in detail this deal made by the former Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom Merkeys. It has a secret condition, according to which their country is obliged to buy military and other goods only from one company. Such a secret agreement. Because of this contract, the Kingdom of Merkeys is restricted in trading with other companies and countries. William hesitantly asks if they are talking about the Barnett Guild. It was Barnett, Juris replies sheepishly. William recalls the personality of Mr. Barnett and states that he knew it. He is definitely capable of such a thing. In order to continue to suck all the money out of their kingdom, he will do anything, no matter what. Juris says that it can't be. Is this bridge really they're doing? She has no evidence, but the probability is high. Bird turns to William and says that it is necessary to begin restoring the bridge immediately. Yes, of course, confirms William. Crafting skill includes enhancement, increasing the parameters of created items, repair, fixing broken items, creation, generating items from materials. William decides to use repair. However, he understands the extent of the destruction, and repairing this bridge is quite a large-scale task. The mana consumption will be enormous, and it will take a lot of time. Together, they begin restoration work. Sometime later, all participants in the restoration work see the quality of the repairs done and are completely delighted. William announces that the repairs to the Iridian Bridge are complete. To avoid future problems, they need to head upstream tomorrow and build a mudflow dam, William announces. All the construction workers involved in the repair work are perplexed as to what this is. An anti-mudflow dam? Events of the next day. Everyone moves upstream. MC explains that a mudflow dam is a structure that holds back logs and large rocks washed away by rain. It is necessary to avoid repeated floods. Along the way, Juris says that they will soon reach the headwaters. On the road, Sonal and Ganel sense a strange smell in the air. Sonal shouts, "William, it looks like someone is following us." MC asks again, "What does this mean?" They move on, and Ganel states that they seem to be being watched from afar. They've already run away. Perhaps these are the ones who try to destroy the bridge, Juris suggests. At this time, Bird, who is walking a little ahead, calls William to look at the situation. MC comes closer to the river. He sees a destroyed structure made of logs, torn ropes. He assumes that there was already some simple retaining wall in this place. William says in surprise, he couldn't even imagine that in these parts such technologies are passed down from generation to generation. He bends down and picks up the rope. William examines the rope and finds traces of a clean cut on it. He believes that someone deliberately destroyed the retaining wall, causing the dam to burst. Juris listens to all of William's conclusions and says, "What a horror. The new structure needs to be made stronger so that something like this doesn't happen again to the village at the foot of the mountain," MC believes. He asks everyone not to waste time and get to work, asks everyone to collect stones and wood for materials. At this time, footsteps are heard on the hill and a voice is heard from above. "Stop." It's a crowd of men of all ages and in all sorts of clothes, shouting at William and company. What are they doing on their territory? Juris thinks they are bandits. William asks them if they were the ones doing the surveillance. The hooded bandit shouts that William and company have broken into their territory, and the bandit with the mohawk asks if the collapse of the bridge was their fault. When asked about surveillance, the one in the hood replies that he doesn't understand what we're talking about. All the robbers shout in unison. In any case, there is no point in lording it over their territory. If life is dear, they demand that you give them everything you have. With these words, they rush to beat up William and company. At this moment, Sonal suddenly jumps up and hits the first robber, who cannot stay on his feet. The robbers are shocked by this turn of events. Mr. Bird calls his masters forward into battle. Hand-to-hand combat begins. Even Sonal and Ganel rushed actively into battle. William looks at the builders from the beer team and assesses them as very strong and powerful. He is surprised at how good they are. The hand-to-hand fighting continues. One of the bandits, namely the bald one, grabs Juris by the neck and puts a knife to her throat. She tries to call William for help. The bandit demands that she behave quietly and decently. William sees Juris being taken hostage. He screams in despair, but doesn't know what to do. At this point, Sonal and Ganel are quite far away, fighting with their opponents. Looking around, he sees that there's a battle going on in every part of the battlefield, which means that everyone else is also busy. William realizes that he can't even use his skills to fight. He thinks about what to do. At this moment, some noise is heard. A girl with a spear appears on the battlefield and enters the battle. She demands that the robber immediately release Juris and calls him a pathetic scoundrel. William watches all this with curiosity and recognizes the girl. The robber switches his attention to the fighter girl and, saying, "What do you want?" rushes into battle with her. The girl manages to dodge the attack and neutralizes the bandit with a spear thrust into his back, causing him to fall face down. At this moment, Sonal and Ganel see the fight and are happy with the outcome. Bird and the brigade are also worried. The girl rushes to Juris asking if everything is okay. Juris thanks her for freeing her. William runs towards them and shouts, "Aquino." Juris is surprised and asks how the stranger knows William. A beautiful brunette recovers from the aftermath of a fight, asks for forgiveness, and introduces herself. She is Aquino Tachibana from Moonlight. One of the masters tries to remember, "Moonlight, wait a minute. They're the strongest group of adventurers that everyone is talking about," another adds. In response, Aquino confirms that she is the daughter of their leader, Eri Tachibana. "So that's it. No wonder where such power comes from," exclaims Bird. "Simply cutie," cries Sonal. Surprised, William asks how she ended up here. Is there something wrong with Snow Peak? He means the spear. Aquino looks at the saber, twirls it in his hands, and replies that this little one is still sharp. She says that she learned from her mother that William was having difficulties, so she rushed to help. William wonders, he heard that the Averg family is poaching his clients, but have they really gotten to the Moonlight group? Aquino says that when she set out on her journey, she first stopped by his new house. There she met Averg's daughter and asked her about everything, after which she went straight to the Iridian Bridge. And when she finally found them, she noticed that some bandits were up to no good, after which she began to watch from ambush and wait for the right moment. So that's it. William understands the situation. So the smell came from her, adds Ganel, who is nearby. Aquino is upset and simply furious at such words. She tries to explain that she ran as fast as she could, and that is why she was sweating. William calms her down, says it's not like that. Sonal just has a good nose, that's all. In the end, everything worked out well. Sonal joins the conversation. At this point, Bird asks what to do with them and points to the tied-up, lying bandits who demand that they be untied immediately. Juris appears, alarmed and flushed, and believes that she will first accompany them in a friendly atmosphere to the capital, and then ask them a couple of questions. They are all on the riverbank. The water is splashing, and William is thinking he wants to start building the dam as soon as possible, but no matter what, he needs to deal with their guests first. They have fixed the Iridian Bridge, so it is better to continue the work tomorrow. William suddenly sees Aquino. She leaned over to the tied-up robber whom she had defeated, tries to wake him up, and demands that he get up. The robber regains consciousness and cannot understand where he is. He remembers that he was just walking in a flower field with his granny. Aquino smiles, looking at the robber. In her opinion, she hit him quite lightly. She looks him in the eye and tells him that he needs to end this business before it's too late. William looks at what is happening and remembers the event of the previous days. The thief who stole the equipment from Moonlight was caught. William witnessed Eri Tachibana punishing the thief. She began to beat the thief severely. He begged for mercy, but Eri did not stop. Aquino boldly intervened in this situation, demanding that her mother stop torturing her. To this, Eri said that this scoundrel was a thief, he stole the equipment, it would not go so easily. Aquino tried to object and justify the thief with possible good reasons that he had. Eri then explained that for adventurers, equipment is a matter of life and death, and stealing it is the same as trying to kill them. But Aquino couldn't agree with that. William also wanted to intervene in the situation, but he was stopped by the Moonlight adventurers. It was better not to approach at the moment, they said. The thief asked for forgiveness, but Eri Tachibana, she did not stop gagging him, beating him with a whip and trying to strangle him. Then Aquino rushed to the thief and asked if he was okay. Eri tried to stop Aquino. The thief continues to ask for forgiveness. He cries and tells that his son recently went blind. He heard that there was a famous healer in the capital, but he did not have enough money for treatment. And his wife died of illness, and his son had no one left except him. He begs for mercy, falls to his knees, and bows his head to the ground. Aquino sees all this and thinks. Eri does not believe the words and demands not to continue talking nonsense. She is very angry. Then Aquino approaches the cart with the property and takes out some object with which she goes to the thief. Aquino comes back and says, "Take this, one of my collectible weapons. It doesn't have a name, but it could fetch a lot of money." The leader of Moonlight tries to stop her from doing this. But Aquino turns to the leader and says that these are her personal items that she acquired for herself as a hobby, and such an act will not affect the combat capability of their group in any way. With these words, She hands the weapon over to the thief. Eri asks if Akino really believes this man, to which she replies that her heart tells her that he is not lying. Eri thought about it after hearing these words and left. Several days passed. William and Akino met alone. William asked if Eri had apologized for that incident. Akino asked again, does he mean mother? MC said that Eri received a letter of thanks quite quickly after the incident, in which it was reported that the son of that robber received treatment and regained his sight. Akino learns about this for the first time and is very happy about this fact. And also, William gives you a new weapon that he made. Akino picks it up, looks at it with admiration, and says how beautiful it is, Snow Peak. William adds that it was a personal request from Mrs. Eri. Akino is very surprised by this. MC narrates, some time ago, after that incident, Eri invited him for a talk. At that meeting, she asked to create a worthy weapon for the next leader of their party. Looking straight into his eyes, she said, William, she has hopes for him. The order will not be easy. Eri said that she wanted Akino to take over her business in Moonlight. She expressed confidence that Akino would become even stronger. She has special qualities of kindness and the ability to understand people. The Moonlight will become even stronger with her. Akino listens attentively to everything William says and cannot believe it. She expresses great gratitude for the weapon she received and undertakes to take care of it. We return to the Iridian Valley. The events take place near the restored bridge. William gathered all the builders involved in the restoration of the bridge. He decided to show them something. Akino, anticipating events, asks what he has in mind. You'll see now, William replies and gives the command, come on, Sonal. On the bank, William built a small model of the riverbed with barriers across it. Sonal starts pouring buckets of water, and it rushes down, carrying away stones, branches, and debris. William explains that he created this model to demonstrate the functioning of a mudflow dam, which holds back stones and trees but allows water and gravel to flow through the cracks. Everyone present watches with interest how this structure works. William explains how this dam fulfills its long-term purpose. Ganel randomly sees something in the distance and shouts, William, look. Everyone turns in the direction he pointed and watches as huge, organized columns of people approach them. Norman appears at the head of the column. He announces that he has arrived with reinforcements from the capital. William gives the command to begin rebuilding the village. At this time, in the Barnet Guild, the guild workers are sitting at a table playing cards. One of them, the youngest blonde, says it's boring. Yes, there are fewer orders, confirms an experienced worker, William's former partner, a bearded brunette. Will everything be okay? Asks the blonde. Mr. Barnett looks out of his office window with a very displeased expression. At the same time, he is crumpling some important document in his hand. The front door creaks, and Laston enters the office. He addresses his father. Mr. Barnett walks around his desk to sit down on a chair. Laston begins to tell. They say the Iridian Bridge has been restored. Isn't it too fast? He asks. Mr. Barnett, sitting on his chair, reports that it looks like Minister Gowrie hired this scoundrel. William, perhaps? Laston suggests. Barnett, head down, explains that the bridge has been restored. Trade with other countries is now possible, and the Kingdom of Murkies will certainly break their secret treaty. Laston spreads his arms wide and asks what his father should do. He asks Laston not to rush, and adds that he needs to think carefully. Mr. Barnett, after a short pause, perked up and with a smile declared, let the Kingdom of Donal and the Kingdom of Murkies start a war. Laston hears and cannot understand what this is for. Barnett says war creates a need for a lot of weapons. That's true. And who makes weapons for Donal? Laston thinks. And Barnett continues with a grin. Their company makes the weapons. Laston smiles and says, Father, you are as resourceful as ever. Barnett coughs in response and declares that there will be a lot of work, Laston. And in the Iridian Valley life is actively flowing. After the bridge was restored, an anti-mudflow dam was built. Norman thanks William for the work he has done. He says that the Ardane Bridge and the Weir Upstream are now complete and Minister Gowrie will surely be pleased with the speedy restoration. They look at the deserted fields and forests from the top Rudy, raise them too. William says that it remains to return people to normal life, but it looks like it will take a long time. Norman replies, the rest will be their job. Behind William, there you are, William. He turns around and Mr. Beard is standing in front of him with a group of men. Beard introduces William to them. One of them, a short-haired blonde with an open face, greets William and introduces himself as Creed, a resident of this village. He thanks him for helping with the repairs. And he says that Mr. Bird said that William is supposedly building a village. William was taken aback by this treatment. Having collected his thoughts, he begins to tell that halfway between the capital and Hubbard, there is not even a village, but only his farmstead. The local men continue. They have a request. Will William allow them to settle in his village? They ask with hope in their eyes. MC thinks. They continue. Because of the downpour, their fields were washed away and their cattle were lost. It is not even known when they will be able to return to work in the fields. If it were possible, they would stay in their village, but they need something to eat. They heard that Mr. William was founding a village, and they thought that their experience could be useful in a new place. William was pleased to hear all this, and he says that, of course, he would be only too glad to have them. He has just recently started gardening, but he is a beginner at this business, so their help will be very useful. All residents happily accept this decision of the municipal council. William says that as soon as he returns, he will immediately start building houses for them. He hears a question from behind him. Have we forgotten? Anyone? And he turns around. Bird is standing in front of him and squinting. He says, yes, William has a cool craft, but it's hard to be alone, and that's true. Before retiring, Bird is ready to help in building a new village. Voices are heard. Bird turns around, sees the master builders approaching, and announces that they too wish to work with William for his help. MC addresses them and expresses enormous gratitude for everything. Bird promises the builders that they won't be bored. They all stand together and contemplate the results of their work in the Iridian Valley, and new things await them ahead. William reflects that his new village has new residents, and he is very happy about this circumstance. William's hut. Lemmet sits alone at the table, a cup of fresh tea in front of her. But she has absolutely no appetite and wants to cry from boredom. Agnes reassures her that William will be back soon. She looks out the window and shouts with delight. They're back. Lemmet, let's go meet them. Lemmet happily jumps out of the hut and shouts, welcome back. William announces that he has returned and, pointing to the people around him, asks to meet the new inhabitants of the village. Lemmet is in shock. This is a huge surprise for her. Aquino approaches her first, saying that she is glad to meet you and work together from today. You are from Moonlight, aren't you? Lemmet exclaims in surprise. But he quickly comes to his senses and says that he is glad to meet her. Aquino greets her in return. William introduces the new tenants to their future place of residence. He points with his hand and says that there in the distance is the royal capital. And over there, he points in another direction. Work on building new houses in the village is in full swing. Aquino and Agnes are hard at work harvesting timber for construction. And Lemmet and the maids, with jokes and fun, are busy washing dirty clothes and linens. Ganel notices that William is lost in thought while standing on the construction site. He approaches MC and asks, what happened, William? He is deep in thought and asks if Ganel remembers the situation with the bandits. While in his thoughts, the whole story is scrolling through when they were attacked by bandits, how they had to save Judas. William adds that, of course, he doesn't really know how to use a sword or magic, but he thought that at least some kind of weapon for self-defense wouldn't hurt. Since that's the case, he decided to use this magical ore and make something. At the same time, William shows a piece of ore in his hand, resembling a spearhead. He says that he got this ore from one place, and it is special, has the ability to absorb magic. Wow! Ganel exclaims in admiration after seeing this. MC says he decided to make a knife and asks to see. He begins to magically spin the piece of magic ore, and after a short moment, it turns into a sharp knife. Ganel watches all the magical transformations with great surprise. William holds a ready knife in his hand and says that if the enemy does not possess magic, the weapon loses its special ability, but still remains deadly. There's a crash. William and Ganel stop talking. This is Lemmet falling backwards with the buckets in which she was carrying water. William runs to her and shouts, is she okay? Getting up, she explains that she was carrying water to water the garden, but tripped. William and Agnes help her up and calm down. William examines the path along which Lemmet carried water. He understands that the water is far away and the road leaves much to be desired. Ganel runs up and starts a conversation. They're going to start cattle, and the farm will need much more water. William agrees with this. After some thought, he decides that it is time to bring water to the village, which he announces in the presence of everyone. But everyone is interested in how to do this. MC says they will build a water wheel. Bird, who is present, joins the conversation. The water wheel is a great idea. Ganel shouts out, let's get straight to crafting. William says dreamily, they have enough wood, but not enough metal parts to make it. Therefore, he continues, it is necessary to go to the capital for shopping. Aquino immediately announces that she will be joining William. MC is very surprised by such an unexpected decision. Lemmet is shocked and hysterically shouts that he will go too. Rudy's abilities and head to the capital. And now the capital of the kingdom. They're walking along the shopping streets of the city. First of all, they go to a shop selling metal products. Then they go to a bookstore where William buys technical literature necessary for studying the design of water wheels and other mechanisms. Then they make other purchases at the city market. Evening is coming. William is surprised The shopping took much longer than he planned. But they bought a lot of things and bought seedlings for the garden. Limit joins the conversation. As they leave the market, William says he doesn't want to go home at night, and Rudy finds it hard to fly at night. He thinks it is necessary to rent a hotel room and spend the night in the city. The girls do not object. They go to the nearest hotel. Once at the hotel, William approaches the administrator and asks if there are any rooms available. He adds that there is a separate room for the ladies, but a general one will do for him. The administrator, a respectable gentleman with a thick beard, nods in understanding. Well, how could it be otherwise? Not everyone is together, adds Limit. Mr. William, a voice is heard behind me. William turns around and sees a smiling jurist standing in front of him. He asks what she is doing here. She answers. The guard reported their arrival as soon as they saw them at the entrance to the capital. She immediately went after them after receiving the information to talk about the incident on the Iridian Bridge, jurist says, looking down at the floor. William replies that he understands. MC turns to Limit and Aquino, suggests that they settle in and rest for now, while he needs to go away on business. Yes, they answer with consent. William and Juris meanwhile go to the bar. They sit at a table, and Juris holds a glass of beer in front of him. She starts a conversation. It's been a while since they drank together. You speak correctly, agrees William. But he was counting on a normal dinner, taking a sip of beer, says MC. By the way, regarding the robbers that day, Juris recalls. Juris begins to tell that as a result of the interrogation, they found out that the mercenaries received instructions from the Raven familiar. Familiar, William says meaningfully. They have a familiar, he continues. So, this is a witch. She is their leader? It's not known yet, Juris replies. The secret pact between the kingdom and the merchant guild, says Juris, was not only beneficial to Barnet. It affected not only their interests, but also those of all those who were around. Juris continues. There were probably many people who looked with hostility at the minister who was planning to revise the deal. William continues, if Barnet is behind this, he won't just show his tail. Juris says that a conference to revise the trade treaty is coming soon, and security has been stepped up in the capital, but she is worried about sabotage by opponents of the treaty. She continues, the minister is against such measures to strengthen the guard. He wants to deepen cooperation with different countries and regions in order to enrich the country, and she wants to help him. Juris starts to freak out and shouts, come on, William. Do you understand what we're talking about? Yes, I understand, he answers with a smile. But she doesn't calm down. And MC understands that Juris' bad addiction has begun to manifest itself. He doesn't want to drink? Asks a rather tipsy Juris. William knows that when she gets drunk, she starts pestering everyone. He nods and says, yes, he drinks. Juris sobs and declares that she just wants everyone to be happy. She hates those who try to rake in all the wealth for themselves. They continue to sit at the bar, and Juris demands that he continue drinking. He pretends to agree. William considers the whole thing to be alcohol harassment. From drinking so much alcohol, MC became quite drunk. In the morning, already in a bad state with a sore head, William barely drags his feet to his hotel. On the way, he remembers that Juris made him hang around with her until the morning. And in the morning, as if nothing had happened, she rushed off to work saying that she had a meeting to prepare for. It was incredible to him that after such a night, she was able to run to work. Good morning, William. This is how Limit and Aquino greeted him already at the hotel. Limit added that he looked like he had just risen from the dead. Only after hearing these words, William was able to come to his senses. This is how their shopping trip to the capital ends. They all return to the village together on Rudy. And without wasting time, they begin construction. William begins making a water wheel, which is a huge wooden structure with paddles attached to the inside and buckets on the outside for scooping up water. William explains that the first step is to build a dam in front of the water wheel to create a difference in height and increase the water pressure. Buckets attached to the wheel would scoop up water and pour it into the trough. William continues to explain. The water will flow down the gutter and collect in the catch basin. Gannel is already near the gutter. He is interested in the moment when this will happen. The sound of water running through the gutter can be heard, and Gannel exclaims with joy that they now have water for the cattle. The water continues its movement and now fills the canal built by the residents. William is very pleased. Now the fields will be able to be watered to their heart's content. MC expresses gratitude to Mr. Bird. He expresses gratitude for his help in building the dam and canal and says that thanks to him, everything worked out. Bird modestly replies, no need to thank me. Now the fields and cattle will be fine. Bird continues happily. Yes, William replies with satisfaction. Everyone around him is also very happy. There's some strange sound. Gannel says he heard something. He too, confirms William. With the words, let's go, everyone starts running towards a noise. What happened? Limit cries out in confusion. Aquino calls Limit to go along too. At this time, on the steep, wall-like bank, clinging to a twig with all her might, an unfamiliar long-haired girl hangs. She asks someone for help. William runs out onto the shore first, rushes to the cliff, and tries to find out if the girl is okay. He says he will help now. William commands Ganel to pull the vine he is watching. Ganel completes the task quickly. William says, "Excellent." He ties himself to the free end and, like a professional climber, begins to descend toward the girl, while everyone else helps him and pulls the vine. Having reached the girl, William grabs her and they are pulled to the shore. The frightened girl, sitting on her knees, explains that she slipped and fell off the bank. She expresses great gratitude for the help provided. Akino wonders what she is doing here in a place like this. The girl asks to help them. Unknown people invaded their village. William processes the news of the village invasion. Was the village attacked? They ask the girl. William wonders why this has happened. The girl introduces herself. Her name is Slay, and she is from the village of Tast. She says that a witch's family lives on the outskirts of their village. William thinks about this. Slay continues, saying that one day, the girl's mother, a hereditary witch, announced that she had run out of ingredients for her potions and needed to go out and find some more. She left her daughter in the care of the village elder and his wife and left. This was not the first time this had happened. But yesterday, something unexpected happened. Several men armed with axes and cold weapons suddenly broke into the headman's house and kidnapped the child. At the same time, the entire village was surrounded by bandits. Slay says she waited for the right moment and managed to escape. Kneeling before William and his companions, she explains that she is on her way to the capital to call for help. She dreams of getting there as quickly as possible and contacting the knights. She continues anxiously. After listening to the information, Beard says that it will take several more days to reach the capital. Not only that, but it will take even longer for the knights to arrive, Aquino opines. William reflects that a conference is currently being held in the capital, and all forces are focused on security, so it is unknown how many knights will be able to be assigned. Gani adds, did those who attacked the village deliberately choose such a vulnerable moment? William thinks that the witch is also involved here, and he recalls a recent conversation with Juris. He believed that there are clearly those who want to disrupt the revision of the treaties, and thoughts of Mr. Barnett come to mind again. William asks Slay to help him get to the village. She doesn't understand why. In response to her confused look, MC declares that he will save her village. William calls Aquino, Sonal, and Ganel and announces that they're going to help together. He turns to Bird and asks if he can contact the order. Yes, of course, Bird replies. Limit expresses his desire to go with Bird to the capital. Bird is surprised by this desire. William tries to stop her, but Limit explains that they will get to the capital faster on her horse. William has no argument. At that moment, Agnes adds, in her opinion, Mrs. Limit's connections in the knightly order will be useful, and she has no doubt about that. Beard confirms that the daughter of the Averg family certainly has high authority. William agrees with the arguments. He turns to Limit and says that he believes in her and trusts her. Limit replies that she is happy to help. Agnes, Limit, and Bird set off immediately for the capital on the ladies' horses. William, Aquino, Ganel, and Sonal, accompanied by Slay and with Rudy's help, set off in the direction of the village of Tast. After a short time, they're already on the outskirts of the village. From a small forest, William and company survey the surroundings of the village. MC hands Rudy over to Slay and instructs him not to hesitate to flee if necessary. Slay agrees. The group moves toward the residential buildings. As they approach the village fence, Ganel notices that there are guards at the entrance. Aquino goes first and suggests going ahead on. William stops her. He thinks that they don't know how many bandits are inside. With a smirk, he suggests making a bandana out of his gloves. What good will that do? Asks Sonal. MC says he has a great idea. He smiles, and he says it will be called Operation Reunion, washed with tears of joy. The whole company waits warily to see what will happen next. The guard at the gate, a fairly young blonde guy, is clearly bored and even starts yawning, hinting at his desire to sleep. William and Sonal approach him, disguised as locals. William says, well, here's the village of Tast. The guard reluctantly turns toward them when he hears their voices. Here we are, brother, Sonal exclaims. Yes, it looks like it, William agrees. Everyone else watches what is happening from their hiding place. Aquino, who is closely observing the situation, says she doesn't like this idea. Ganel, who is nearby, asks, was the bandana invented to hide Sonal's ears? A guard approaches William and Sonal and asks if they are locals. He announces that the village is closed and demands that they leave. William asks him to wait. He begins to explain that they have heard rumors that their missing mother lives in this village. They have traveled a long way together with his sister to finally reach this village. Sonal plaintively asks if they will see their mother. Yes, of course, William replies cheerfully. William says with regret that their mother left them at a church shelter when they were very young. She must have had her reasons, replies the guard, joining the conversation. Sonal starts to cry. The guard becomes nervous, and the story affects him so much that he even sheds a tear. William and Sonal did not expect such a reaction. The guard cries and says that William had to constantly protect his little sister, and they survived as best they could, like two abandoned kittens. The guard is completely moved and begins to wipe away his tears with his sleeve. He says he understands them and will help find their mother. Is that true? William and Sonal ask at the same time. The guard wipes his eyes and tells them that he was also raised in an orphanage. He understands their feelings like no one else. He opens the gate to let William and Sonal in. Watching from the sidelines, Ganel exclaims in surprise, "Well, that worked." "It worked," Aquino adds. Meanwhile, the guard leads William and Sonal into a detached, deserted house. On the way, he says that if it becomes known that he let someone other than the villagers in, they will all be in trouble. Once they are inside the house, the guard says that the house is empty and that they can observe what is happening around them from this location. William and Sonal thank him for his help. The guard goes to the window, opens it slightly, and says that it is now lunchtime and everyone is going outside. He suggests looking to see if the person they are looking for is in the crowd. A command to line up is heard on the street, and it is announced that food is being served. William watches this scene through the window. He looks at the house next door and wonders if that is where the villagers are being held captive. The guard asks if he sees anyone he knows. William replies that he cannot tell for sure. The guard mocks him, asking if he has completely lost his memory. Doesn't he remember his relatives? But he adds sympathetically that William was only a child and his only childhood memories left. The guard continues, saying that life as he sees it is really not easy, and he understands that. At that moment, Sonal shouts questioningly, "Where is the witch?" The guard becomes suspicious and asks again, "Are they interested in the witch?" William tries to dispel his doubts. He begins to tell them what their mother said, that a witch lives in the village, and apologizes for their behavior. He adds that his sister always dreamed of seeing the witch and spreads his arms wide for greater credibility. The guard replies that the witch's daughter is being held in a distant hut. Sonal smirks at these words. She tries to stick her head through the frame of the half-open window to get a better look at the hut, but her bandana gets caught on the window frame and slips off her head. The guard sees animal ears on Sonal's head. He's surprised by this. He declares that they are definitely not brother and sister. And what's more, she has a tail. Sonal grabs her head. William is tense. He grabs the guard from behind with his hands, pressing his palm over the guard's mouth and ordering him not to shout. William holds the guard and calmly tells him to listen carefully if he continues to do such things. Then there will be orphans in the world who are forced to live in shelters. The guard does not understand what is happening. He asks if his problems are because he is an orphan. He begins to explain that he was lured by a gang of thugs. They explain that there is a village where an evil witch lives, and you can get easy money. William says that those who oppose the amendments to the treaty are surely involved in the attack. Amendments to what? The guard asks again. MC explains that trade in their country is currently distorted by a certain treaty, which is why wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few. William continues that in connection with this, a revision of the treaty is being prepared in the capital, and if all goes well, trade will become freer, and many citizens will be able to benefit from this. But if this agreement is not changed, and only the select few continue to enjoy life as before, inequality will only increase and crime will continue to rise, says William. Defenseless children suffer the most as a result, and he knows this pain very well, doesn't he? William asks the guard. The guard ponders these words. He begins to remember his past life and recalls how he wandered and starved. After thinking for a moment, the guard says that it is difficult for him to understand what is happening right now, but he definitely does not want anyone to repeat his fate. He is certain of this. Meanwhile, Aquino and Ganel continue to watch from their hiding place. Aquino asks if William is okay. Ganel replies that there hasn't been any noise yet. At that moment, Ganel shouts, "Here comes William." Aquino and Ganel watch what is happening with incomprehension. William approaches them and asks if they were worried about them. Aquino asks who else they brought with Sonal. A tall young guard introduces himself. His name is Kenneth, and he is pleased to meet them. He says that he talked with William and decided to switch sides. Aquino is surprised by his decision to switch sides. William intervenes in the conversation and says he will explain all the circumstances of the decision later, but now they need information about the layout of the village. Kenneth agrees. He begins to draw a diagram of the village on the ground with a stick. Everyone watches him intently. Kenneth finishes drawing and tells them where the places they are interested in are located. First and foremost, these are the village head's house and the places where the villagers gather. Kenneth points to a house a little way outside the village where the witch's child is hidden. William says that everything is clear and that first they need to rescue the witch's child and then liberate the mayor's house. They head for the lonely house, which is guarded by 2 men. Kenneth approaches the entrance first and greets the guards. They greet him in return and ask why he is here, since he should be on duty. Ganel and Sonal appear behind Kenneth. He tells them that he found a couple more children in the village. At that moment, Ganel and Sonal attack the guards. They engage in hand-to-hand combat with them, deftly striking them with their hands and feet. The girl sitting on the floor, tied to a post, hears the sounds of blows and fighting outside the room. She cannot understand what is happening. The door bursts open and William rushes in. MC asks if she is okay and says he has come to help. The girl looks frightened. Ganel, who also runs into the room, announces with relief that they have finally found her. MC says his name is William. They're from a neighboring village, and they came to help as soon as they heard about the attack. The girl tries to explain something, but she is too upset. William asks what happened. She says it's her staff and picks up an object from the floor. She explains that it's a magic staff that her mother gave her. When she was captured, the staff was broken. William asks her to give him the staff. She hands it over uncertainly and asks what they're going to do with it. William asks Ganel to find a branch. Ganel says he will and runs off. After a short time, Ganel returns with a piece of branch and says that William will now show his magic, laughing very loudly. William makes a new handle for the staff from the branch, attaches it to the main part of the staff, and fastens it together. As a result, the staff is repaired and handed over to the girl. She admiringly takes the restored staff in her hands. Kenneth, who is standing behind the MC, wonders if William really has crafting skills. The girl hears the question and asks, "Isn't he the same William, nicknamed the Jack of all trades?" William asks in surprise how she knows about him. Ganel and Sonal, who are standing nearby, are equally surprised. The girl announces that her name is Mamiya and her mother is the witch Marjorie. William asks in surprise, "Lady Marjorie?" Sonal has no idea who they are talking about. The girl thanks him for repairing her staff and exclaims triumphantly that now she can go and help her mother. William asks what kind of help she is referring to. Mamiya explains that she heard the news from 2 security guards who are lying unconscious after a hand-to-hand fight. She says that when the guards were talking to each other, one of them asked if the girl's mother had been caught. The second replied, "It's hard to believe that they were able to capture that witch, because she's like a monster." William wonders where her mother might be, but Mamiya doesn't know anything. Then William asks Kenneth if he knows anything. Kenneth replies that information is not passed down to someone as low-ranking as him. He suggests asking those who are in the mayor's house. William says they need to go and free the local residents. At this time, a group of armed men gathers near the capital's watchtower. A brutal, tall, blonde man asks the crowd and shouts, "Does everyone have weapons with them?" The crowd raises their hands in unison with a roar, and they all have swords, daggers, axes, and other types of weapons. They also brought a specially made cage on a cart, in which the witch Marjorie is held. She is depressed, and all her thoughts are about her daughter Mamiya. The events move to the kingdom of Melkis. Norman arrives in the capital of the kingdom. He greets the guards and asks if there is any news. The guard greets him in return. He says that meetings are currently being held in the city to review the terms of the agreement. They're not letting their guard down, as the actions of the opposition are causing some concern. The sound of horses' hooves can be heard. Norman turns around and can't believe his eyes. A pair of horses gallop up to them, and one of the riders loudly declares that she is Lemmet from the Avert family. She has urgent information to report. Meanwhile, events continue to unfold in the village of Tast. William and company set out to free the local residents from captivity. Kenneth leads everyone to one of the abandoned houses. He suggests hiding in this place for now. On the way, Ganel asks William how he knows Mamiya's mother. William asks if he means Mrs. Marjorie. MC says that she is an incredible magician and is very good at developing magical tools. He says that when he worked for the Barnett Trading Company, she bought materials for him to make tools. Mamiya asks why the bandits kidnapped her mother. William replies that he has been thinking about this from the very beginning. After all, if Marjorie is not an easy person, then perhaps someone is trying to take revenge on her. Ganel turns to Mamiya and asks her not to worry. He promises to kill all the bad guys. Aquino smiles and says that they are all with her and everything will be fine. Mamiya feels better and thanks everyone for their support. William looks at his entire company with satisfaction. MC stops everyone and announces that first they need to free the residents, and then gather information for further action. He says that according to Kenneth's information, the residents are being held captive in 2 houses. William suggests splitting into 2 groups. One of the groups is already approaching the first suspected house where the residents are located. The The guards at the entrance to the house are tired and sleepy. Ganel, Sonal, and Aquino seize the moment and attack them. With quick and deft movements, they disarm the two guards. William and Kenneth watch the guards of the second house from their hiding place. MC says he trusts Kenneth to make the first move. Kenneth replies that he understands. He leaves the house and calls out to the guards of the second house, beckoning them. The guards respond to the call and see that it is Kenneth. One of them says that Kenneth is probably skipping duty as usual. Kenneth suggests going inside the house because he has heard that there are some hot, interesting magazines inside. The guards look at each other, approach Kenneth, and enter the house. It is dark in the house, and they wonder where to go to find these magazines. At that moment, they find themselves tied up from head to toe. It is Mamiya who uses the magic of capture. Kenneth says, "Keep it up, Mamiya." William declares that now it is his turn to demonstrate his abilities. He says he uses old metal and wood for this purpose. In a relatively short time, he quickly builds a cage and places the captured bandits in it. William, Kenneth, and Mamiya stand in the house completely satisfied. MC declares that at this rate, they will be done by morning. At that moment, Sonal enters the house. From the doorway, she says that they have already captured everyone. All the bandits are tied up and are being guarded by Ganel and Aquino. William is amazed at their dexterity and speed. After that, the neutralized bandits are placed in a cage built by William. Kenneth looks at the whole team and declares with satisfaction that they are all very strong and he admires them. As a result of these events, all the residents are now free. Overjoyed and happy, they begin to hug each other. One of the men turns to Mamiya, thanking her for saving them. But she says that it is not her they should thank, but the people who came to her aid. William says that Slay asked them for help. The man falls to his knees before William and asks how he can repay him. William replies that the best thanks for him is that all the residents are alive and well. He asks in return if he knows the whereabouts of Marjorie. The man replies that unfortunately he does not. Aquino says they will have to interrogate the bandits. But the bandits say they know nothing. They were just going to attack the village and steal valuable property. William asks whose orders they were following. The bandit replies that the orders were given by a man they don't know. This man was given orders by someone else, and as a result, they do not know who the leader of the whole gang is. William thinks about it and realizes that there are many people in the chain of command. Is it necessary to interrogate all the bandits to get to the truth? At that moment, a crow appears in the sky. It lands on Mamiya's hand. William is surprised by the crow's appearance. Mamiya says that it is her mother's familiar. MC is surprised by this connection to Marjorie. Mamiya asks the raven to tell her where her mother is. It tells her that it is an old castle in the southwest. Mamiya realizes that her mother is probably there now. William and the company receive this information and decide to head to that location. And so, with Rudy's help, the whole company heads for the castle. On the way, William thinks about the familiar crow. He remembers that during the events on the Ardeen Bridge, there was information that all the instructions came from that very crow. William continues to ponder, wondering if Marjorie is going against the agreement. But he can't believe it because she herself was kidnapped. He believes that there must have been some compelling reason for this. At this time, a large group of armed men gathered at the castle gates. They shout that they will destroy the royal capital and begin to advance. They shout that they want money for this girl, Marjorie, who is being transported in a cage on a horse-drawn cart. An unknown man in a hood approaches the cage, his face hidden. He calls Marjorie over and calls her a witch. He asks if she is ready to do his job, which is to kill Minister Gori in the castle. He reminds her not to forget that her daughter is being held hostage. Marjorie is chained up. She asks how she is supposed to kill the minister if she cannot use magic. The man says he will free her when the time comes. She is angry at her situation and at the handcuffs she is chained with. Marjorie recalls that some time ago, she left home to find materials for a magical weapon, leaving Mamiya in the care of another person. On her way through the forest, a stranger called out to her. It was an elderly man wearing a hood, his face barely visible. She asked him who he was. He continued the conversation and began to say that he did not expect her to leave her daughter alone in the village and go so far and for so long. Marjorie became agitated and asked him to repeat what he had said. At that moment, the man approached and handcuffed her. His partner also appeared, and she was unable to resist. The stranger then said that he needed her help. After that, instructions began to arrive from the unknown man, including those related to events in the Ardean Valley. She continued to and follow their instructions, but did not realize what they were trying to achieve. And now she realizes that their main goal is the secret assassination of Minister Gori. She knows that the minister is a fairly selfless person, but despite this, he has his enemies. Marjorie thinks that she does not want to kill the minister. But what should she do? She silently asks Mamiya to hold on. At that moment, voices are heard from the sky. The stranger looks up, curious to know what is happening. Marjorie also looks up and recognizes the voice. Rudy flies overhead with Mamiya on his back, who shouts for her mother to be returned. Mamiya, Marjorie manages to say. Mamiya waves her staff and directs magical power at the crowd. The whole group, Akino, Ganel, and Sonal, join the battle. A fierce battle begins. The stranger standing next to the cage declares that things are going badly and hurriedly leaves in an unknown direction. Marjorie tries to stop him by shouting. From behind her, she hears someone calling her name. She turns around and sees William in front of her. She asks why he is here. William says he will explain everything later. He asks what the handcuffs on her are for. She replies that they block her magical power. William takes out his dagger, and Marjorie asks where he got such a weapon. William says he will free her now. He is pleased that he was able to make such a useful tool in advance. William manages to remove the handcuffs with the dagger. Meanwhile, Akito continues to fight against a superior enemy. She realizes that they are too strong and outnumber her. At that moment, a deafening thunderclap is heard in the sky, and a bright flash of lightning appears. Freed from captivity, Marjorie breaks out of her cage. Full of strength and energy, she declares that now that she has regained her daughter and her magic, she asks to be given the right to deal with her offenders. All the armed rebels look up at the sky. Among the flashing lightning bolts, the silhouette of an unknown animal appears. The lightning intensifies and illuminates the crowd of armed men, who are very alarmed. A fiery dragon appears in the sky. It is a storm crow from Marjorie's magical arsenal. It simply burns the rebels with its fiery flames, and in a short time, the battlefield is littered with corpses. William whistles at the sight. Ganel exclaims in surprise, "Wow, wow." Akino is amazed by such magical power. Marjorie looks at this scene with admiration. Mamiya runs up to her shouting, "Mom." She runs up and throws herself into her arms. Marjorie kneels down, hugs her daughter, and says she is very happy that she is healthy. Mamiya declares that William and company saved her. Marjorie asks William where he came from. MC hesitates with his answer. Marjorie turns to her daughter and tries to find out if she is telling the truth or if she has deceived her and the villagers. She says she needs to be more vigilant. What would she have done if she had been captured? After all, she was only saved thanks to William and the others. William turns to Marjorie and says that they are all immensely happy that she is alive. But he has questions. Marjorie begins to make accusations against William. She says with a serious expression that if he hadn't left the company and continued to sell her materials for magical weapons as before, she wouldn't have left her home, and no one would have attacked Mamiya and the villagers. William is speechless at these words and even opens his mouth slightly. In response, Marjorie starts laughing and says that everything she said was just a joke. The MC begins to ponder and cannot believe that the invader had plans to secretly kill Minister Gori. William hears someone calling him loudly. He turns around and sees Limit rushing towards him on his horse, supported by numerous cavalry. She jumps off her horse and begins to explain that they arrived at the village of Tast, but were told that William and the others had gone to the old castle, so they came here. Norman appears next and immediately asks what happened here. William shows him the recent battlefield littered with corpses. After meeting and talking, they set up camp for the night near the castle walls. While the group is not yet ready to sleep, they go to the castle walls to look around. Mamiya gazes intently at a building in the distance. Akino asks her what's wrong. Mamiya says that she is seeing this building for the first time, although she has read about it in a book. It's quite a large building. Ganel joins the conversation. Isn't it? He adds questioningly. He didn't think there was such a huge building in the capital. Mamiya hears the word capital and is surprised. Ganel says that William took him to the capital when he was there on business. What's the capital like? Mamiya asks. She adds that she has never been outside her village before. Ganel says that the capital is teeming with people and has lots of different delicacies. And there's more, he continues. Mamiya and Ganel continue talking to each other, even though it is already late at night. But they are completely oblivious to the time. Akino and Limit, who went out to look for them, find them talking. They do not interfere in the conversation and watch what is happening with a smile. William comes out of the castle gate and says that it is already night outside. He sees the whole group waiting for him. William is surprised and asks if they really haven't slept. They invite him to dinner. William and Ganel sit down at the table. Agnes serves plates of food. She says that everyone has already had dinner. William thanks Agnes. He says he is so hungry he could eat a horse. William eats slowly and begins to explain that it took quite a long time to prepare the report for the entire Order of Knights. But there's nothing to be done about it because we're talking about a plan to assassinate Minister Gori. Akino joins the conversation. The MC says she's right. William continues. saying that checking the details of this case will not be difficult. However, the people who have already been questioned know nothing about the person who ordered the hit. He continues, so it will not be so easy to track him down. MC continues to argue that this is the work of those who oppose the revision of the treaty as a whole. Compared to the case of the Big Bridge, this plan is much more straightforward because the goal was to kill Minister Gory right away. William is interested in what force the conspirators plan to use if the treaty is revised. Marjorie returns and says she has finished her business. Mamiya rushes to her and hugs her joyfully. William says that Marjorie has done a good job. She explains that she used her familiar and helped people who promised not to tell anyone that she was forced to follow criminal orders. Excellent, William exclaims. Mamiya tells her mother that she was very worried. Marjorie apologizes to her daughter. Marjorie turns to William and asks if what she heard from a girl named Lemmet about the construction of a new village is true. William continues eating dinner, pausing to say that it is true, but that they are only halfway through the process. Marjorie asks her daughter if she wants to go to the new village. William even stops eating when she asks this question, and everyone else present is also tense. Mamiya is confused. Marjorie continues, saying that after seeing Mamiya's magic today, she realized that her daughter has become a true master, and she is very surprised by her abilities. However, Marjorie continues, only if Mamiya truly wishes to become a magician. Standing against the backdrop of a lone moon in the night sky, Marjorie looks into her daughter's eyes and tells her that she will have to leave her family nest and go out into the world. Mamiya thinks for a moment and confidently replies that she is ready for such a step without a shadow of doubt in her eyes. Marjorie looks at her daughter with tenderness. She turns to William and asks if he has any objections. William smiles and replies, of course not. Marjorie is overcome with conflicting thoughts. On the one hand, she is happy for her daughter, but on the other, she is anxious about parting with her. But the company is in high spirits, and they are ready for new adventures. And deep night falls over the old castle. The whole company returns to their native village and begins to go about their business. William laughs loudly as he utters the phrase, "It's not working." MC begins to train Mamiya in magic. She uses her staff again and asks if she is doing everything right. William replies that magic is obviously different from craftsmanship in its purpose. At that moment, Gannel approaches them and says that it is good that William is becoming a teacher. Kenneth, who is working in the field, watches them from afar. He says, "Keep it up, William." Gannel approaches Kenneth and greets him. Kenneth greets him back. Gannel asks how Kenneth is getting on with his work in the field. Kenneth replies that all his success is thanks to William. He never thought that this was the life that awaited him. Kenneth says that during the liberation of the village of Task from bandits, he was also arrested and put behind bars. His former partners, who met him in the cell, began to make accusations, accusing him of betrayal. He thought he would not be able to stay alive. At that moment, someone called out to him. It was William. The MC called the representatives of the Knightly Order and began to explain that Kenneth had helped liberate the village. Kenneth was released on the condition that he remain under William's supervision. The MC then asked Kenneth if he could help build the village, and he swore in response that he would start his life with a clean slate. Kenneth continues. At the same time, he unexpectedly shouted out loud that he would follow William for the rest of his life. Kenneth turns to Gannel and asks if he has forgotten about his business with William. Gannel remembers that he almost forgot. He turns to William and shouts, "William, we have guests." This unexpected guest is the head of the village of Velgen, Atkins, a bald man of respectable age with a beard and mustache. William meets him and escorts him to the hut. Atkins examines the three-story building and says with surprise that he did not expect the small hut to be turned into a large building. William explains that this is indeed the case, as the number of villagers is growing and it is necessary to increase the number of residential buildings. Atkins continues to say that the village has become much livelier. William responds by explaining that some of the new residents are from his village. William invites Atkins to enjoy the new village's achievements as a token of gratitude. They go into the house and sit down at the table for tea. William announces that he has received a letter personally from Minister Gory. Atkins points out that it was even written about in the newspapers. William says that it seems that the revision of the treaty is in full swing. Atkins sadly remarks that because of this, his daughter is now always busy and has completely forgotten about him. Who is his daughter? Asks Lemmet, who is present during the conversation. William apologizes and asks if he hasn't mentioned it before. MC says that Atkins' daughter's name is Juris. Everyone asks in surprise, is that really true? Atkins enjoys a delicious cup of tea and says that his daughter is not even married, although she is at the perfect age. Well, she's trying her own way, he adds fondly. Atkins asks William to tell Juris to visit her father more often the next time he sees her. Atkins continues his speech with the words, because he is starting to look like a drunkard due to his alcohol abuse caused by all these problems. He puts a cup on the table and bends down to the floor, saying that he almost forgot about the gifts he brought. Atkins picks up a basket containing plant seedlings and places it on the table. He says that they're involved in plowing and cultivating fields, aren't they? William and company accept the gift with great joy. Atkins explains that during the growing season, they often hold celebrations to ensure a good harvest. He suggests organizing something similar in the new village. This idea arouses great interest in William. After a while, William gathers all the villagers and addresses them with the following words. Thanks to all the residents, the village has grown and the number of residents has increased significantly. He continues that in gratitude for the work done and for the sake of further development, they are throwing a party. This is unexpected but extremely joyful news for all the residents. And so the long-awaited festive day arrives. For the convenience of the residents, special market stalls have been set up on the main street, and the village is decorated with garlands and flagpoles. William and Limit go to see the results of the preparations and are surprised at how lively the streets are. Ganel invites Mamiya to join him for a walk. William walks down the street and sees how well everything is organized. He thinks it was the right decision to provide space for residents who are good at cooking. This made it possible to organize places for guests to eat. On the way, he meets Bird and company, who are enjoying delicious local beer. They were the ones who participated in the construction of the shops. William recalls that he had to make the missing tools and devices himself. When they pass by a pastry shop with Ganel, Ganel is interested in the unusual molds. William explains that he made these molds out of metal specifically for baking. Ganel decides to try the meat delicacies and takes a portion for himself. William laughs and says that they don't have octopus, but instead, they have kraken. On the street, they meet Sonal, whose stomach is swollen from overeating and who is even having trouble breathing. Limit rushes to her and asks if she has probably overeaten. For lovers of active recreation, archery competitions are organized. Agnes hits all the targets. William comes to honor the winner, congratulates Agnes on her victory in the competition, and says he didn't expect any other result. In the final of the arm wrestling competition, Kenneth and Beard meet. All the fans are eagerly watching the match. Limit asks William to come closer. She looks on with admiration at everything that is happening and says that this is the first time she has seen such a joyful celebration. William listens to her with a smile. He says that the celebration is just beginning. Limit does not understand what he is talking about. William turns to Mamiya and asks if she is ready. Mamiya takes her staff and goes to the center of the square, where a huge crowd has gathered. She makes a magical strike with her staff. A fantastically bright and colorful flash of fireworks explodes in the sky. All the spectators are delighted. How wonderful, says Limit. William says he asked Mamiya to use some spectacular magic. The fireworks continue to flash in the sky above the village. William looks up at the colorful spectacle and is lost in distant memories. A picture appears in his mind of him sitting at a computer desk with empty coffee cans in front of him. At one point, he hears a cannonade outside the window and turns his head toward it. He sees colorful, glowing bursts of fireworks rising into the sky above the rooftops of the high-rise buildings. All this is happening while he is at his workplace in the office of a large company. His vision darkens, and he hears fragments of words. Someone is calling William. He turns and sees Limit, Mamiya, Ganel, Sonal, and Aquino in front of him. They all kindly say in unison that everyone is waiting for him and ask him to come with them. The party continues and the dancing begins. William thinks for a moment and replies that he is coming. He remembers that some time ago he thought he was alone in this world. But now that's not the case, because he has friends. William catches up with the group ahead and joins the crowd of dancers. At almost the same time, someone is carefully making their way through the forest. It is a long-haired stranger. The girl is dressed quite lightly, wearing a shirt with rolled-up sleeves, short shorts, knee-high socks, and short boots. She is holding a scythe in her hands, the blade of which is decorated with an unusual ornament. The girl comes out to the edge of the forest, stops near a tree, and watches the fireworks in the new village intently. The next morning arrives. William, Limit, and Aquino go for a walk in the forest. They are going to see the construction of the road to the capital of the kingdom. Limit wonders if it will be a little while longer before the road reaches Hubbard. William says that thanks to everyone's efforts, good results have been achieved. He believes it is necessary to go to the capital and report on the work that has been done. Limit starts screaming hysterically that she also wants to go to the capital. Aquino joins in and shouts that she also wants to go with William. The MC declares that he will not allow any more all-nighters. Limit and Aquino take offense at William's words. William hears someone calling his name. He turns around and sees Gannel standing in front of him. Gannel says he has brought lunch. William thanked him in return. MC asks how Sonal is feeling. Gannel says that it seems she overeated at the festival yesterday. William remembers that Sonal felt unwell yesterday. Her stomach was bloated, and she had to go to bed. Lemmet came to check on her health. Gannel sees an unfamiliar object in William's hands and asks what it is. MC shows him the object, which looks like an electronic tablet. He says it is a magical energy detector. Gannel exclaims in surprise, "Does William really know how to make magical energy detectors?" MC says that he once saw a master magician technician making such a device, and he asked Mamiya for help to make the same thing together. William believes that there are many evil spirits in their area and that the detector will help increase safety. William is in the middle of the forest, along with Lemmet, Aquino, and Gannel, with Rudy sitting nearby. They continue to examine the detector. William says that it is still in the development stage, as magical instruments are complex. His detector currently has a limited range. At one point, glowing dots appear on the detector screen, and Gannel wonders if the glow is coming from their mana. William thinks for a moment, not understanding what it is. An unknown noise and suspicious sounds begin to grow around them. The glow on the detector screen becomes brighter and stronger. By this time, it is beginning to get dark in the forest. The whole group realizes that they are surrounded by an enemy force. Monsters emerge from the thickets. The friends are ready for battle. They grab their weapons in unison. Aquino asks William to protect Lemmet. William understands everything without being told. Aquino is the first to engage in battle with a monster, a gorilla-like creature several times larger than our heroes, with huge fangs in its mouth. At that moment, Gannel joins the fight, deftly demonstrating his hand-to-hand combat skills. There are many monsters, and they attack from all sides. William cannot understand where so many monsters came from. He thinks that the reason is probably the active deforestation. The tree behind William turns out to be tricky. One of its branches reaches out toward the MC and grabs his right hand, which is holding his dagger. Lemmet sees this and yells at him, trying to warn him. But all attempts are too late. William gathers all his strength and tries to break free from these clutches, but he lacks the strength. At that moment, the tree trunk is cut down at the root by an unknown force. The tree falls, scaring the monsters away. Lemmet looks on in dismay. Aquino and Gannel are confused. Gannel sees the monsters scattering very quickly. William gets up from his knees after his miraculous release. He raises his head and sees an old acquaintance in front of him. It is the very same stranger who was watching the fireworks at the edge of the forest. William turns to her and says uncertainly, "Lydia." They sit down and start talking. William asks if she is lost. Lydia replies that she is. She begins to tell him that she received information from her grandfather about his trip to Averg and his business contacts. After that, she went to help William. She reached the Averg estate, but then lost her way. Lydia says she wandered into the forest, where she saw lights rising. She decided to move in that direction. William realizes that Lydia saw their festive fireworks from the festival at that moment. But in the end, she got completely lost. Everyone around her is listening intently at this moment. She says that she continued to wander through the forest and recently heard strange sounds and went in that direction. When she came out into a clearing, she saw monsters attacking William and his companions. She had to intervene. William listens to the story and expresses his gratitude for her help. William turns to his companions and announces that this girl is the granddaughter of the blacksmith Dennis. Aquino asks in surprise, "Blacksmith Denis?" Gannel asks with indelible curiosity, "The legendary blacksmith?" Lydia calmly hands William a rolled-up piece of paper and says it's from her grandfather. "From Dennis?" asks the MC. William unfolds the piece of paper and reads, "Take care of my granddaughter." He understands that this message is in the spirit of Dennis, from events that took place some time earlier. William, accompanied by Rudy, sets off on his journey. They travel a short distance, and William begins to remember that they are already somewhere near their destination. Rudy starts to squeak. MC asks if he wants to find out where he is going. William cheerfully says that he is going to Dennis' workshop, where he has an order from the Averg family. MC says that he has an idea to establish cooperation. He goes on to say that, according to rumors, Dennis is a bit of a character and rarely takes on work. William is lost in his memories. He recalls once seeing a sword made by Dennis. This sword was extraordinarily beautiful, and its beauty was breathtaking. He remembers once walking through the forest and seeing a little girl. When William approached her, she was holding some unknown book in her hands and crying. MC asked her if everything was okay. At that moment, the girl opened the book and began to read. William understood the meaning of the words and realized that it was a book of spells. He wondered how it had ended up in the hands of a child. The girl raised an unusual sword above her head and began to swing it around. William only had time to shout, "Hold your horses, she's not the enemy. Don't do that." The blade of the sword was decorated with amazingly beautiful ornamentation. But the momentum of the swing caused the girl to lose her balance and fall, losing consciousness. William and Rudy were frightened at that moment. It was beginning to get dark in the forest. At his estate, Dennis was looking for his granddaughter Lydia. He remembered that he had sent her to the neighboring village to do some shopping, which was a very difficult task, meaning that his memory had become very poor. Dennis sees William coming towards him, carrying Lydia on his back like a sack. Lydia rushes to hug her grandfather with joy. After Dennis and William put Lydia to bed, they sat down at the table and began drinking tea. Dennis began to tell them that the magic book he had given his granddaughter contained all the weapons he had forged. He continued to say that in order to create something, one must know everything there is to know about that object. Dennis said that he wanted Lydia to surpass him as a blacksmith, but she was quite shy and found it difficult to express her thoughts. Dennis looked at his granddaughter, who was asleep. He continued, saying that because of her clumsiness, she takes blacksmithing very seriously. At that time, Dennis said that as a token of gratitude for saving his granddaughter, he was ready to take William's job upon himself. MC looks at everyone gathered and recalls that it was from this moment that his friendship with Dennis and Lydia began. Lemmet asks Lydia if she is hungry and give her some bread. Lydia replies that she is a little hungry. Aquino also serves food and tells Lydia to help herself. Lydia, who is quite tired, expresses her immense gratitude to them. William is very happy about this meeting and how today has turned out. Meanwhile, in the now largely forgotten company of Barnett, events take their course. Mr. Barnett bangs his fist on the table and yells, "Damn it!" He continues to yell that the attack on the capital, the murder of Minister Gori, and the plan to frame the inhabitants of the Kingdom of Dal as the main culprits in order to start a war between the two countries have all been complete failures. Opposite him stands his son, Laston, who asks his father to calm down. Barnett continues to shout that it is impossible to remain calm in such a situation, and that Laston should also think a little about all the problems. Laston smiles and replies that he has already come up with something. He hands his father a piece of paper and says that a customer has come along. Barnett is intrigued by this news. He takes the paper from his son's hands and reads it. He utters in amazement because it's the same thing. Laston smiles slyly and tells his father that this guest has come from sea. Barnett and Laston look at each other silently. Thanks for watching. Write your feedback in the comments. If you like the story, please like and subscribe. See you soon.